The lady in the third row. Let's begin with the topic and develop it gradually.
Good evening, Dr. Torsunov. Is it possible to develop a talent like yours? Or is it something you need to be born with?
Let me explain. There are abilities. The key to understanding is that everything develops when people have a need for it. If I want to help people and they need my help, God gives me the ability to assist. If you only desire to develop talent for its own sake, if you focus solely on developing talent, you won't succeed. I didn't have a desire to develop my talent. I simply wanted to help people. I can tell you how I learned to heal. I was a soldier in the medical unit. One night, a fellow soldier had a severe headache. There was no medicine, and the doctor had already left. He was screaming and feeling terrible. I approached him, placed his head in my hands, and looked into his eyes. I thought, I won't let go until you feel better. That's what I told myself and concentrated hard, determined to help him. I had no idea how to heal. I just wanted it so badly because I felt his pain. He was surprised. For the first few minutes, nothing happened. Then after a few minutes, his headache disappeared. I didn't know what had happened and tried to figure it out myself. I was only 21 years old at the time. When people try to develop abilities for themselves, it's unnecessary. God doesn't need that at all. A person doesn't truly possess abilities. All abilities come from God. If God sees a need to, He grants abilities to a person. If there is no need, He doesn't. Why would He give you abilities? For what purpose? If you help others, He will provide abilities based on your willingness to serve. The moment you sincerely want to help someone, your abilities will emerge immediately.
When a strong desire to help others emerged in me, I received an opportunity to write a bill. These are two different spheres of activity, and I'm at a crossroads. I don't know where to focus my energy or which path to follow.
These are related activities. Writing bills and healing people are roughly the same thing. Both mean providing people with knowledge or help. This is the first type of person we will talk about. You can pursue both activities in parallel. You are a woman, you don't need to immerse yourself in just one thing. You should focus on what interests you and what you enjoy.
I understand, thank you.
Your turn, gentlemen, please. They'll hand you the microphone now. In the back, at the end.
Due to my selfish view of life.
We all have a selfish view of life. It's the same for everyone.
You're right. I ended up alone. No friends, no acquaintances, no colleagues.
You're just a very principled person.
That's also true. Here's my question. How can I learn to help other people? I understand it mentally, but not in practice.
I'll explain, and you'll understand everything right away. It's very simple. You need to accept that people might not understand what you understand. This is called becoming senior. People around you, ordinary people, might not grasp what you understand. When you understand and realize this, you become more lenient. You no longer hold it against them if they are unable to understand. This shift will immediately bring you friends and relationships. You'll still feel a certain loneliness. Your deep understanding of certain things might not be possible for everyone. It will never be like that. Only God can understand you more than anyone else. This is what needs to be done. You have a certain rebellion in your heart. Why don't people understand this? You try to pressure others, and as a result, they break off the relationship. If a person by fate stands on the 5th floor and you're on the 8th, it might take them 20 years to reach your level. You can't pull them up by force. It's impossible. You need to understand that a person's ability to understand is limited by their current stage of development. We can't drag people to a higher level. They each simply live at their own level. You have principles, and your principles often conflict with people's lack of understanding. You need to become senior in this case. Continue living and accept that they won't be able to understand anytime soon. But as they develop, they will understand more over time. I have the same situation. I have a team, including juniors. I have given them authority to make decisions, important ones at that. Often I see that their decisions are wrong. I try to hint, but there's no reaction. So I allow them to make mistakes because I know nothing can be changed anyway. I don't directly manage people. Those who report to me handle the management. I'm not a manager by nature. They need to manage, not me. I'm describing my situation to you as an example. If I don't let them make mistakes, they don't grow. The challenge is that your psyche doesn't agree to let others make mistakes. That's the difficulty.
Maybe I'm making mistakes too. I've never been more humble than now, having hit rock bottom.
You don't make mistakes. You're a very insightful person. You can see more than most. Sometimes God makes a person fall. This is not the result of a mistake, it's the result of strength. All strength comes from God. I see it in your fate that God took away your strength so you would become wiser. There's no mistake here. I don't see any mistake. Your principles are correct. It's only a question of whether they can be implemented or not.
I can't figure out how to move forward in life, whether to do business or not. There's a certain fear. There are many past mistakes and debts holding me back. It's scary to move forward. Maybe I should go work for someone else.
You won't be able to work for someone else because you have an absolute vision of how things should be. You could, of course, work for someone, but imagine if they make bad decisions. They would be your senior and force you to follow their misguided choices. It would drive you crazy. No, that's not the right solution. What I'm about to tell you is the right path. It will be difficult, but it's the only way forward for you. The thing is, there are divine plans for everything. People often struggle to understand this. How can divine plans coexist with the fact that someone makes foolish management decisions? But even this can be part of the divine plan. Acknowledge that God chooses those who are senior. Respect that God chose them for this, and despite their mistakes and shortcomings, begin to cooperate with them because God chose them and made them senior. Accept God's will. Once you do this, you immediately resolve all issues in your life, reclaim your previous position, and continue developing according to your place in society and status. This is your only issue. There are no other obstacles for you. You need to acknowledge that God has the right to position people where they are, to punish everyone around, not necessarily to foster their growth. If you respect God's divine right, you help such people change. Don't force your opinion, but give them the opportunity to understand for themselves where they are right and where they are not, knowing that God placed them above you. When you fully accept God's will, He immediately restores you to your rightful place. This will happen very quickly.
Thank you very much. This will be difficult to do.
I told you this would be the most difficult task for you. It may seem easier to work under someone else, but you'll quickly realize that it's impossible for you to live like that. Simply impossible. You need to pass an exam that is very difficult, as I just told you. It's hard to understand. Ordinary people won't be able to understand it, but you can. Next question, please. There's a man next to you. Thank you very much.
This is Honey from our apiary. May I hug you?
A very intelligent child who will become a teacher, scientist, a very serious person. Listening to lectures at such an early age.
Hello, Dr. Torsunov. Thank you for coming. I have a question regarding work. Please help me understand. For about a year, I wanted to expand my activities. However, I tried to expand my activities.
You don't need to expand your activities. You need to stabilize what you have and deepen your relationships with people. Focus on your business in a very precise, measured, and correct way. This is your current development goal, not expansion. God is protecting you from expanding at this stage.
Should I focus on what I'm doing? I was advised to hire people to help analyze the service market and determine what to prioritize.
No, you shouldn't do that. Right now, you need to focus on maximizing product quality. Hire people who can contribute to improving quality. If you find such specialists, your business will develop naturally. It will grow on its own. What you're doing is in high demand. By improving quality, you will see its immediate development.
Focus on improving quality?
Yes, focus intensely. You need an innovator who can lead a leap in quality. That will create significant growth. What do you think?
I was thinking about something else completely. I was thinking about expanding.
Let me counter that. Look at the market. Perhaps there's no room for expansion anymore. Sometimes there's nowhere left to expand. I sense you've hit a limit in expansion, but in deepening, there's no limit. You can refine your work significantly and might even lead the way in your field, leaving others behind.
Thank you.
What do you think? Look into your heart. I was speaking with your heart just now.
I practice Vedic principles, and in this sense, it's difficult to work honestly. There's little honest work, and the opportunities that come my way aren't enough to provide for my family.
Improve quality, and you'll see tremendous results. Try to make the quality of your services higher than everyone else's. You'll see the results immediately. I don't know the technical details, but this is the answer I received within myself. I feel it resonates with your heart.
Yes, it resonates.
Good. Now we've solved everything. If you had told me, I don't feel it, I would have thought further. But I see that what I have said aligns with you. That's it. We've resolved everything. The market is completely saturated, so expansion isn't feasible, but quality, that's where you need to focus. Next question, gentleman in the first row. We need a microphone here. I'm asking people who could help all of you understand the topic. I'm looking at leaders who are strong in their activities, and I'm asking them. In the previous lecture, I asked who had it the hardest. Here I have a different goal.
In my life, I have always had goals.
Yes, you're a development specialist. Wow, thank you. Please put these flowers and those ones in vases so they don't wilt.
I've always achieved my goals and moved forward, but at some point, literally in the last 2 years, I feel like I don't see any goals anymore.
You feel there is no development, right?
I pray and try to live correctly.
Do you have a team?
Yes.
Do you have a good manager in this team?
Yes.
I can't believe that you are unable to develop. You have a strong focus on development. It's impossible for you not to grow. I can only see one thing: your management is suffering. That's my opinion. I think the issue is not with your development, it's with your management. Your manager is not up to the task. That's my opinion.
There's no final goal. How do I reach the next level?
Now I've definitely got the answer. The next step is always visible when you strengthen your rear. If an army advances too quickly without securing its rear, it cannot sustain the fight and must retreat. Your next step is always tied to your capabilities, but your capabilities are lagging behind your ability to see the goal. You're very far ahead, and you have a problem with the rear. Your assistants who handle management aren't up to your level. They're not bringing your activities up to a level that would allow you to move forward. You see everything, but you also understand that you can't do anything about it. You see a lot, but you can't act now because you lack the necessary resources. Resources don't come from you, they come from management. This is your weakness.
That's right. That's exactly how I feel.
You're starting to get disappointed thinking you can't see the future and how to develop, but you see it perfectly clearly. You see several steps ahead. It's just that your rear isn't strengthened. Here you don't see. You need to find a talented leader who would manage processes and people effectively. You're a development manager. Someone else should handle management. You can manage too, but it's not your strongest ability. You need someone with excellent management skills to direct processes and people. Once your team catches up, you'll be able to develop rapidly. Until now, you weren't far ahead of management, so things worked out. Now you're far ahead, and they can't keep up with you. That's why your activities seem impractical. You consider it impractical now because you haven't yet grown to that level in terms of management and business creation.
Thank you.
It's like trying to pull your neck by your head. It might come off. You already know where to pull.
Maybe we need to stop and wait for now.
No, you need to invest in management, find people, train them, and do something to make them stronger in management. If you want to create a new model, you need to test drive the old one first. If they can't handle the old model, and you're already creating a new one, you hit a dead end that you can't do anything about. They can't keep up with you.
Thank you.
What do you think?
You are right.
The most dangerous thing in your situation is that you're starting to lose faith in your ability to see ahead as a result of all this. Pray about it. If I see a bottle of water, but can't open it, it doesn't mean I don't see it. It only means I don't have the resources to open it. You're losing faith in your ability to see, and that's wrong. No matter how much you pray, you'll still see the same things. You already see everything you need to see, even without any prayer. You don't have a problem with that. Are you interested in how we communicate about this topic?
Please finish your thoughts.
Let's talk. What's your thought?
You were talking about employees, that you allow them to make mistakes. My husband and I also have a small team, and we've been letting them make mistakes for 10 years. When will they learn? What should we do?
There's an answer. It's in the fable. Those born to crawl cannot fly.
They are good employees.
Yes, that's your problem. You don't understand the difference between a good person and a good specialist. Being a good person is good, but there are people who are capable of developing, and there are those who are not. If you don't put those who are capable of developing in senior positions, everything falls apart. Let's say I have a good person frying potatoes, but they can't fry. Everyone eats overcooked potatoes. They are a good person, and I think, let them keep frying, and everyone keeps eating burnt food all the time. This is incorrect thinking. A leader must be able to discipline, remove, or change people for the benefit of all. A leader sees the common good, not just the individual good. That's the problem. You're not a leader by nature, you're a teacher by nature. Your husband is a leader. He's a very kind leader.
Patient.
From a technical point of view, they are associates. They understand what we're talking about, but they do what's easier, not what's needed.
My dear, those born to crawl cannot fly. If a person cannot develop further, they will never develop. You need to observe. If people have stopped developing, they will never develop anymore. You shouldn't expect anything more from them. You need to look for other people. There's no other choice. If you keep them, there will never be development. You must accept this. If a person manages something, they cannot live without development. If there's no development, there's degradation. In management, there's always either upward or downward movement. It's impossible to stay in the middle. You have no choice. You must put someone in place who will develop things. You have no choice. This person simply cannot do it. A leader's goal is not only to learn to forgive people and allow them to make mistakes, but also to understand whether a person can develop or not. This is the other side of the coin. I can see the person you're talking about. He simply cannot develop further. He just doesn't have the capability.
Maybe we should just change our field of activity?
No, it's good. When a country is in stagnation, the idea of changing the field of activity is the wrong one. During this time, everyone needs to freeze, stay still, wait, and survive. There's very little time left until the country's economic upturn. If you wait and hold on without falling apart, at the moment of upturn with all your resources, you become first or nearly first.
We had 50 representatives. We're the only ones left.
You should wait. Either you do something foolish now and lose everything, or you stay where you are and achieve powerful development. According to your fate, this will happen within a year. You have already waited 6 years. You have only 1 more year to wait.
How do you know?
God knows everything from the heart. I'm giving you these numbers so you'll believe me. If I say things that are impossible to guess, you think, okay, we'll do it that way. That's the approach.
If he doesn't believe you, why ask questions?
There are different types of faith. A person may believe, but when it comes to life and death, they need strong arguments. Sometimes you have to use certain methods, like giving them strong arguments. Your question, ma'am.
I would like to continue.
That's why I'm asking you.
We have a team that's 18 months old. We've been working together since the beginning.
You have a good team.
A very good team. We're like family. But this year has seen such upheavals that people write resignation letters and take them back 2 days later. They keep doing this.
Be patient.
I can be patient, but I sense their tension and feel their hopelessness. I understand everything, but I want to hire new employees. When a new person comes in, the team is so well coordinated that the person can't fit into the family dynamic.
I know the solution. You need a Furmanov. You're Chepav, you need a Furmanov. Do you know who Furmanov was? He was an ideologist who trained people and helped them to survive. He trained both those who were already part of the group and newcomers. He connected people. An ideologist acts in such a way that no one can expel anyone. An ideologist adjusts the team atmosphere. He communicates with people. Unfortunately, this kind of work is practically undervalued these days. People think it's unnecessary, that you shouldn't pay money for it, but this type of work is tremendously powerful. In your team, you act as the ideologist yourself. But please understand, a leader cannot also be an ideologist because no one spanks using a carrot. To spank, they use a whip. The carrot and stick cannot perform the same role simultaneously. If leaders used carrots as punishment, they would make the whip sweet. Everyone would lick it, and people would be afraid of the carrot. You cannot be both the carrot and the whip simultaneously. You can only be the whip because you're the manager, the senior. Someone else needs to be the carrot. You need to find a carrot, and everything will fall into place.
Dr. Torsunov, my question is, can I hire new people?
Not right now. If you do, they will be overwhelmed and crushed. You need to find an ideologist to stabilize the team, who won't let the newcomers be crushed. Then you can hire as many people as you want. It's impossible to understand immediately. Proof is needed. Gentlemen over here. Leaders don't need a microphone. They can speak without it. This is a sign of strength. Strength also means strength of voice. Please sit down.
I have many ideas and many projects that I don't have time to implement. How do I properly search for partners or associates, and how do I build relationships with them?
You need to find a manager. This person will always pressure you. He will say, "This idea doesn't suit us, it's too early, this doesn't work." He will constantly argue with you, but he will hold what you've created with strong hands. This person will be your complete opposite in everything, and you'll have to tolerate him. Then everything will start developing because you are different. You have a different management style. You are a developer, but you need someone who will keep everything together. Can you clean up the mess in your teams or not?
No.
Find someone who can, and everything will start working out for you right away. You, sir?
I've worked different jobs at different times. Sometimes I had to think more, and sometimes do more. Lately, I've been doing more. I'd like to know, according to fate or by nature, should I think more or do more?
More doing, but I want to say something else. You're acting correctly now, but I want to tell you something in addition. Every person has a certain weakness in their fate, and sometimes they can't see it themselves. Your weakness is that you can't tolerate slow development. You don't see the speed. For example, if a tractor moves very slowly, it seems like it's standing still, and you think it needs repair because it's not moving. But it's simply impossible to drive faster on this terrain. As a result, you make mistakes. You repair it, but it still moves slowly. You think you need to change the tractor. Your problem is that you don't understand the natural speed of development. In reality, it's always slow. It's never fast for anyone. You don't feel this speed, and you want things to go faster. This makes you jump from one thing to another, and you burn out when you see that the speed is slower than you want. This is your thinking error. This is how your fate works. If you learn to tolerate the speed, you'll see that it gradually does accelerate. Just bear with it a little. You need to wait. You should learn to wait. That's the only thing you need to do. Your direction of activity is correct. You just need to learn to wait. Please understand this. Business initially accelerates so slowly that you can't even see it moving. Then the speed gradually increases. Eventually you can't keep up with it anymore because it moves so fast. You always need to keep up. When it's fast, you need to act quickly, and when it's slow, you need to wait. Most people can't wait, but in your case, it's a particularly strong feature. You, ma'am.
Hello. I have to look for work, but due to health issues, I can't handle an 8-hour work schedule.
Yes, that's fine. You need to work less. Set this as your goal.
But it's impossible to earn properly this way.
Do you have a husband?
No.
That's the main problem. You need to understand how a woman's psyche works. If you want a better job, you'll get one, because your psyche is like a river that finds its way. A woman's psyche is designed in such a way that she doesn't need to do anything. She just wants something and she gets it. A woman even considers it beneath her dignity to approach someone and introduce herself. She wants to meet a man, and he comes up to her, because that's how energy works in a woman. She is woven from desires and influences. A man is woven from actions and achievements. When a woman clearly understands that she needs to get married rather than work, her psyche moves in that direction and finds a man. But if she still thinks she needs to work, a man doesn't appear. For every woman, fear comes first, a natural feeling that she must be self-sufficient in life. This is why a woman always looks for work. She doesn't believe she can find someone quickly. A woman feels the need to work somewhere because she can't live without food, a home, and other things. This is where her thinking error lies. If a woman relies on God and believes she should focus less on work and more on her personal life, the right person will definitely appear.
There is someone who is courting me.
You're just not investing your energy in him because you're putting all your energy into work. You need to invest your energy in him, which means diverting some attention from work. Think about him, pray for him, and take care of him. He will start to flourish beside you. He will feel that you need him, and eventually he will marry you. Then you won't need to work yourself to exhaustion anymore. Let's move on. We have an interesting discussion today, so let's begin. Today I would like you to deeply connect with yourself. Often people don't know where they are, and because of this they don't know what to do. Let's address this now. You need to understand that everything always depends on personal development. As I mentioned in yesterday's lecture, when the personality is developed, the family is strong and harmonious. If the personality is underdeveloped, the family is not strong. Similarly, when the personality is developed, professional activity flourishes. It develops according to nature, and everything progresses. It all depends on your inner growth. When a person is dominated by inner fear and just trying to survive, personal development always takes a back seat. The immediate priorities become earning more money, finding a better job, or pursuing a good education. Getting a better job and making more money, things like this. As a result, personal growth falls behind. I will now tell you about the 4 stages of human development, specifically in development, and at each of these 4 stages, there are strong limitations on activity. At the first stage, there's practically no choice. The person will be poor, and that's it. At the second stage, choices exist, but the person works themselves to exhaustion without satisfaction. At the third stage, they have abundant choices, and they feel happy. At the fourth stage, they give up all of this and begin educating others in what they know, becoming a master in their field. The first stage can be called a hobby. At this stage, a person's mindset revolves around wanting happiness from their activity. They simply desire happiness from what they do. There are no other motives. The person is simply carried away. They want happiness. They don't want to just work for nothing. They want to be happy in their activity. This stage is called a hobby. At this stage, a person's intelligence operates at the lowest level. No matter what they do and how they do it, they always end up in a trap. For instance, a person might come and say, I want to counsel people. They're told, great, we need someone exactly like that. Go ahead. They start counseling, and initially things seem to go well. Then they're told, you can't counsel like this, it's not allowed. You must follow these specific guidelines. However, they want to counsel their own way, which is not allowed. They can't do anything about it because of their stage of development. Eventually they say, I'm sorry, but I can't work for you because I can't operate within the boundaries you've set. They're told, fine, find another job. They walk with their eyes still beaming with enthusiasm. They quickly find another job again, but once again, boundaries are set for them. They think everyone around them is stupid. They tell themselves, they don't understand that I'm such a broad-minded person. I can't live within boundaries. As a result, this person constantly moves from one job to another, unable to find a place where they fit. No one can tolerate them for long. Over time, they become disappointed in themselves. When a person becomes disappointed in themselves, they don't get hired anymore, because employers, after all, prefer to hire confident people. No one hires them anymore, so they enter the second stage of development. Before discussing the second stage, I'll elaborate on the first. Imagine someone who loves to paint. They paint exactly what they like, then take their work to the market to sell. But no one buys it. Why? Because each person is unique. When I create solely in the way I like it, the result will be very specific. The result will be so specific that perhaps only 1 in 10,000 will be like me and appreciate it. If by chance that specific person sees the work, they might say, amazing, your painting is incredible. I'm buying your painting. But most others don't get what's so amazing and special about it. It's like having a very sophisticated delicacy with a very distinct taste. Let's say very spicy. Only a few people would enjoy it. Someone who loves spicy food and exactly this kind of delicacy will enjoy such a dish. Especially if it was prepared by someone who really likes spicy food in this particular way. It can be, for example, very spicy and sour. But when others try to eat it, they will feel sick and nauseous. This is called a hobby. A hobby is when a person has a very distinct taste. They want to create something of their own. They are agitated and do everything the way they like it, but nobody else likes it. Once I went to India to study Ayurveda. I attended a lecture and noticed that the lecturer focused on some peculiar ideas about nutrition. He kept criticizing cucumbers and I couldn't understand why. Out of curiosity, I tested his compatibility with cucumbers and found that they were absolutely unsuitable for him personally. That's when I realized that he was at the first stage of development as a doctor, and there was no point in listening to him. I turned around and left. At the first stage, doctors always treat patients only with methods they personally like. They might heal themselves with something and say, yes, this will help, you understand? It's similar to my wife. When something suits her, she says, here, eat this, it will help you. She is absolutely convinced of it. I can't seem to explain to her that it only works for her. This is because, at the first stage, if a person starts cooking, they think, this is a great dish, this is a fantastic dish. So, they feed everyone with this dish. But people turn their noses up at it because this first stage of development is called a hobby. At this stage, people are always unsuccessful because they are too self-focused. Their minds are selfish, centered only on finding joy in the activity itself. Their mind wants nothing else. They seek happiness in the activity, or a person says, I'm taking this job. But if they don't like it, they leave, repeating, I don't like it here, I'm leaving, I am getting another job. Then the cycle repeats, and they keep thinking, where will I like it? The truth is, you won't like it anywhere if your goal is to derive pleasure from the work rather than help people. Your consciousness is not developed enough to work somewhere. The same applies to managers at their first stage of development, for example. They think, now I'll hire some people. They hire them, then decide, I don't like this one at all. This one is out. I don't like that one either. That one is out. And this one, no. I don't like this one either. Out. They end up alone. Why? Because they are still at the first stage of development. They don't realize that people are who they are, and they will remain who they are. It's impossible to like everyone, so you just have to accept that. If you can't accept it, you'll push everyone away and end up with nothing. You might say, well, I can't work with them, but that's your problem. It means you're not yet developed. People ask, isn't it possible to like everything? I can tell you right away, no, it's not possible. Not in this world. This happens in paradise, but not here. Or some people say, I can't work in this country. Fine, go somewhere else. Soon they realize, I can't work there either. Well, okay, move somewhere else again. But I can't work there either. Splendid. The real issue is that you can't work anywhere because you're simply underdeveloped. The country has nothing to do with it. What should be done? You need to realize that you have to work on yourself in this case. If you've reached this point, it means you have identified your stage. You're not yet developed, and you can't hold on to a job anywhere. This means you need to work on yourself. You need to learn patience. The second stage of human development is called abilities. At this stage, a person understands that they won't find work that would bring them happiness, so they are left with one option. They need to earn money. Their spouse is pressuring them. Or perhaps there is a mortgage. By this time, something external is usually pressing the person. So they decide they need to focus on what they are good at. This marks the second stage of human development. This stage is called activity according to abilities. Here, a person starts doing what they are good at. Interestingly, at this stage, their focus specifically shifts to money. At the first stage, they say, I'm very elevated, I don't need money. The main thing is that it's interesting. They think they're being elevated, but in reality, they're not elevated. They are not developed at all. Once a person becomes even slightly developed, they start thinking practically, I need to earn money from my work. I work to earn money. With this mindset, they decide, I will work where I'm good at it, where I get praised and paid. This marks the second stage of development. A person works hard, the work might be hard, uninteresting, or even tedious, but it provides money. At the second stage of development, people usually don't think about whether they find the work interesting or not. If you ask them about their job, what's your job like? They say, well, the salary is good. They don't understand what they're saying at all. When you ask, do you like your work? They say, the salary is good. They don't think that besides salary, there's also the work itself. At the second stage, they're simply satisfied with the salary, and their life revolves around that. They can't easily leave this stage even if they wanted to, because they need to buy an apartment, send children to school, pay for a mortgage, and so on. With so many material plans, they don't have time or freedom for their development. They don't have time to work according to their nature. Their priority is simply to earn money. This becomes even more pronounced when there's a crisis in the country. In such times, when most people are unemployed, thinking about one's own nature and personal development feels impossible. It's even harder to move beyond the second stage in the West, where people face so many limitations that if God gave them a job with a decent pay, they cling to it tightly. It doesn't matter if they work as a doctor or as a cleaner. As long as money is sufficient, they feel happy. The chances to change their circumstances are slim. Why? Because when they get to the West, where do they end up? It feels like a drop of oil on water. Will it ever dissolve in the water? It will dissolve eventually, but it will never fully mix with the water. It will just break into tiny droplets and somehow enter that water. This is how it feels for Ukrainian immigrants in Germany or elsewhere. They might interact with locals, but to truly feel at home, to be a fish in water there, you need to be born there and have their mentality. Their mindset is very structured, precise, and rigid. There, when someone does something not according to instructions, people think, my God, this person is an idiot. That's what they think. Metaphorically speaking, they expected you to walk on the road, but instead you turned off the road. You think, my goodness, this person is an idiot. They have this kind of thinking and nothing can be done about it. We, on the other hand, will never think this way. For a Ukrainian, it is natural to step off the beaten path and try other options before making a decision.
What about working abroad and coming back here?
That's fine. I'm not against working abroad. Sometimes it's necessary. People survive. They go abroad and earn money. You can't live without money. You need to survive. But what I'm talking about now is the possibility of jumping from the second stage to the third. The third stage is activity according to one's true nature. Even when you are in your natural environment where you grew up and share the same mentality, even here, transitioning from the second to the third stage usually comes with a decrease in salary. Activity according to one's nature is always creative, and it will always mean less money. Rarely does the income stay the same, but the growth potential in the future is immense. However, people who end up in an environment that's not their own can't jump to the third stage because they're not in their natural environment. To act creatively, you need to feel integrated into your environment. You can't be creative if you don't blend with the environment. To be creative, you need to become part of the whole. You need to dissolve. To make another example, it's like trying to add flavor to a drink. To add flavor to a drink, you have to dissolve something into it to give it taste. If you don't dissolve, the flavor won't emerge. You won't give it any taste because you're separate, and the drink is separate. Similarly, people living abroad often feel separate from society. They live there by themselves without associating with society. They have practically no opportunity for proper integration, or it's very weak. It might be enough to survive, but this disconnection limits their ability to think creatively. It's like asking a crocodile to fly, to put it metaphorically. Of course, the crocodile can try, but its wings won't grow. Likewise, if someone grew up in Germany as a German, their nature and mentality will be completely different. A Ukrainian will never fully become a German. It's simply impossible. Just as a Ukrainian will never become an African, they won't be able to dance like an African person. An African person can dance for 5 hours straight. They have no problem with it at all. A Ukrainian can't dance for 5 hours. If an African gets offended, they will never forgive and will always insist on their point, while a Ukrainian tends to forgive. What I'm explaining to you is that people have inherent natures. When someone enters a foreign environment, they cannot fully adapt or exist naturally there, and this cannot be changed. Of course, there are exceptions. Occasionally, a person in Ukraine might have a different mindset that aligns better with a different environment. Then they need to go there. It happens, but this is rare. At the second stage of development, people are tightly bound by life frame. They need money to survive, maintain social status, and seize opportunities. Caught in these constraints, they think, I will never be able to work somewhere else. I will only work the way I work now. The only thing that matters is earning more money. They think that working according to their nature means working where there's more money. They think, I'm not working according to my nature. If I were paid more, I would work according to my nature. But even with higher pay, they'd still feel tired and unfulfilled and suffer in the same way. This happens because the third stage of human development begins when a person finally grows tired of prioritizing money. Once they've already gathered enough for living, they decide, I want to do what brings happiness to others. I want to do good deeds. I want to do what I really like. I want to work for God and for people. I want to do the right things through my activities, not just earn money. However, living this way requires personal growth and development. A person can't think this way overnight. They must evolve into someone capable of this mindset first. Activity, according to one's nature, reflects maturity and strong personal development. The fascinating part is that every person is born with the purpose of acting according to their nature. They were born for this. This is the only path to true happiness. They can't be happy any other way. Thus, the purpose of human life is personal development, not merely the pursuit of money. Do you remember the story of Tortilla the turtle and Duramar? Duramar asked for the golden key, and Tortilla asked him, what do you seek in life, happiness or money? He replied, you ask me what do I want, happiness or money? But at first, please answer me, how much gold is in this key? What's its weight? He didn't even understand the question when she was testing him. If you haven't understood the question of what you need in life, happiness or money, it means you have not reached the third stage of development. Just work, earn money, and live peacefully. But if you want to understand your true nature, it's not something you will grasp immediately. Even if I tell you, it won't help you much. Because understanding your nature requires personal development and growth. Once a man asked me, Dr. Torsunov, can you please tell me what my nature is? I told him, you have such and such nature. Okay. The next day I asked him if he had changed his activity or planned to. He replied, no. I asked him, why? He replied, what if you're wrong and I'll ruin my whole life? I told him, that's exactly why I didn't want to tell you about your nature, because you wouldn't believe it anyway. Because a person can understand it only with their heart. It's just like marriage. You can't force someone to accept a spouse by saying, this is your husband, your wife, that's it. No, I don't agree. Why? I don't feel it. The same is true for discovering your nature. A person can only discover their true nature by themselves. You can't just put a person next to another girl and say, that's it, she's your wife. You'll be happy. He'll say, Dr. Torsunov, I respect you very, very much, but not enough to give my life up for an experiment. So, discovering your nature is a very difficult task. No one except you can understand what it is. You won't be able to do it with anyone's help. When a person fully aligns their activities with their nature, they develop and attract greater success, including more money. A bird will naturally fly higher than a crocodile because it is born to fly. Those who are born to fly, fly. Those who are born to swim, swim. A person must understand what they were born to be. But understanding this requires establishing a connection with God, who assigns each person their mission in life. There is always a mission. I'll now tell you about 4 categories of people. A mission is not limited to 4 categories of people, but millions. You must find your mission in life. What were you born for? What activities should you do? What can you contribute to others? This can only be understood by a person who has detached from themselves. When a person is developed, their intelligence becomes very strong. When they decide to do something for others, God gradually reveals their nature to them. But it's different for women and men. We'll talk about this now as well. A developed woman discovers her nature through creative activity. She must take care of people in society. In essence, female nature is to nurture and develop society. Women should take care of children, educate them, and support the elderly. Wherever they work, they should take care of their colleagues there. This is their nature. They create strong bonds between people and build strong relationships. This is their female role. If a woman, alongside her work, fulfills this role in her workplace, she becomes the soul of the team. Her intelligence then becomes capable of better understanding what she should do to benefit not only herself, but also others. This is the difference between human nature and hobby. At the hobby stage, a person thinks they clearly know what they should do, but in reality it brings no benefit to anyone. When a person truly understands their nature, it means God has given them the opportunity to fulfill their mission in life. At the stage of ability and nature, it might be the same activity, but it will be done completely differently. For example, a person might be a leader by nature and also have the abilities of a leader. But when they become a leader by nature, they begin to invest in the team and become a proper leader. A proper leader is not at all like a cat. You remember how Cat Leopold from a cartoon urged everyone to live in harmony. A proper leader can act both ways. They can be sharp as a cutting blade or, on the contrary, very kind. This is what defines a developed personality. What I'm saying is that you cannot do it artificially. You may be able to get into the groove of your mission, but you cannot persuade God to give you knowledge about your mission. Because truly He gives knowledge when a person is ready for it. You need to develop. When you reach the appropriate stage of development, God reveals your mission to you. If you come to me and say, "What is my mission, Dr. Torsunov?" This is all artificial, just like people asking, "Tell me about my future." There is one danger. If you truly believe in your future, then you need to prepare paper and a bucket right away, because you might soil yourself. But if you don't believe it, then why even talk about it? I'm just saying now that every person receives what they should receive at the time when they are ready to digest it. The 4th stage of human development is mentorship. Every person who acts according to their nature can eventually become someone who teaches others how to act. At this point, they don't act purely according to their own nature. They become a teacher for everyone. They teach everyone. They might still act, but not as intensely. Their primary role is teaching others. For instance, if they are a manager, they stop managing directly. As the saying goes, what lies on the desk of a top executive?
Someone once asked me this question. I thought, interesting. What can lie there?
They told me feet. Feet are on the desk. Nothing else is needed. They are already teaching people. They are no longer managing directly. They just provide knowledge. They know how to build relationships, and they understand who is loyal and who isn't. That's why they have excellent assistants. They understand people's nature. They know who can be trusted and who cannot. Such a person who can keep their feet on the desk has many qualities. Those who lack such qualities and are not developed will have to do everything themselves. This represents the fourth stage of human development. At that stage, a person becomes a top executive or mentor. They rarely perform tasks themselves. Instead, they teach and guide others. They share knowledge and teach others how to act. For example, a master at a furniture factory no longer makes furniture themselves. They teach others how to make it. They train people, enhance their abilities, and reveal their potential. Such individuals are invaluable. If a boss understands the value of keeping such a person, even if they don't produce furniture themselves, their productivity increases tenfold. Because others cannot figure out the best way by themselves, only someone experienced can guide them. No matter how hard you try to find a job you like, you won't be able to break past your limits. It all depends on your personal development. A person must not act solely based on their thoughts and impulses. If your liver hurts, taking an anti-inflammatory might bring temporary relief, but it won't heal the liver. Healing the liver requires a lifestyle change. You need to stop obsessing over the liver and focus on developing yourself as a person. Then, as you've developed to a certain level, the liver stops hurting because you've stepped to another stage of life. Similarly, you're now working, confined within certain boundaries in life. You won't be able to break free from these boundaries because you're not developed enough. Now, for example, I'm going to tell you things that might sound very primitive. You might say, Dr. Torsunov, this is so primitive. How did anyone even let you give lectures? Well, I'm ready to sound primitive, but I will still speak the truth. So here it is. If you find yourself in a low position in society, struggling to make ends meet despite working very hard and earning very little, there's only one reason for this. But even if I tell you the reason now, you probably won't understand it anyway. The reason is that you don't respect your elders, the leadership of your country, or your homeland enough for it to lift you up. In other words, when a person genuinely believes in and respects their elders, they naturally attract their attention. This is how it works. Seniors or leaders always look into their employees' eyes. And if they see faith in those eyes, this faith acts as a blessing for the senior to lead. Then the senior can receive two things from this employee. First, they recognize the employee as reliable. If the employee has even a little ability, the senior will put them a bit higher because they are reliable, and reliability is the most important quality in life. Second, this employee can also give them knowledge. When someone believes in their senior, the senior's heart is open to them, and they can tell their seniors what no one else will. Here's an example. The boss decided to fire everyone. The boss is furious because employees have all let him down, committed some terrible act, and gotten on his last nerve. The boss declares, "You're all fired," but among them there is one person who truly believes in the boss as a senior. The others say, "Listen, go to him. You're the only one who can talk to him. No one else can." That person reluctantly agrees. They approach the boss, who is sitting there seething with anger, and the boss sees a person who believes in them. The anger immediately fades. The boss says, "I've fired all of you." And the person replies, "That's right. You are absolutely right. We've been fools. We failed. We are sorry we failed, and firing us is completely justified." And the boss thinks, "Well, okay, go, I'll think about it." In the end, the boss decides not to fire anyone. As a result, the whole team is preserved. Why? Because there is one person who possesses a certain strength. And this person is very respected in the team. If this person has even the slightest potential for a higher status, everyone will naturally support them and lift them up. Now you might ask, why do I have the position I do in society? The answer is simple. You don't respect seniors, nor do you see God's will in the events around you. Because of this, you're not needed in a higher position. You will only spoil things there, create chaos, and destroy everything. That's all. Now let's look at some extremes. How do high-ranking people talk to each other? Isn't it true that they follow very polite etiquette? One cannot behave rudely there. People communicate very softly, delicately, and politely. Now compare this with how people who ended up on the street talk to each other. Take the homeless, for example. What's their etiquette of conversation with each other like? How much respect do they show for one another and their elders? What do you understand? They constantly swear. They hate everyone, isn't that right? Yes, what's the idea here? This is exactly the point. If they had just a little more respect for their elders, they would be hired for work. But they can't be hired because they can't stand anyone. They can't stand God's will above them. Because of this, they will never have steady work. Of course, I'm not talking about those with mental illnesses or disabilities. I mean ordinary people. People can also end up on the street simply because they rebel against everything. This is just a small example of how crucial personal development is in our life. If you focus on personal growth, you'll very soon notice significant changes in your life. But understand this, it's the kind of investment that doesn't show immediate results. For example, if you took management courses, you might immediately get hired for a managerial position and feel like you've greatly increased your opportunities in life. But over time, you will realize that regardless of whether you've taken courses, if you lack the right qualities, you won't be able to hold that position. A diploma might open doors right away, much like beautiful clothes on a woman create a good first impression. But after a 10-minute conversation, a man will know whether the woman is suitable for him as his wife or not. If she is not, he won't continue the conversation, no matter how beautiful she is. This means that true stability comes only from qualities. All external things, our education, our diplomas, our appearances, are just surface level. They have their limits. But a person who has real qualities always maintains their position. Of course, having qualities without education isn't ideal either. Education is necessary, but it's not a guarantee of personal development. It simply shows a person and presents them to society, to this world. Let's analyze 4 types of human purpose. It turns out a person's purpose is not about being a sculptor, an artist, or a doctor. These are merely layers of intelligence. Purpose is the ability to make decisions, take actions, and demonstrate creativity, faith, enthusiasm, determination, resoluteness, and victorious power. These are all functions of intelligence. Therefore, only if a person is intelligent and only if their intelligence is sufficiently developed can they act according to their true nature. Human nature or purpose is tied to intelligence. It is not merely a function of the mind. Human abilities, what a person can do, are tied to the mind. I may be able to do something, but I don't like it. These are the abilities I receive in life, but these are not necessarily my purpose. A chicken might like to run, but its true purpose is to fly. However, it's an underdeveloped bird. It hasn't learned to fly far because it hasn't understood its purpose. Its body is designed with large wings, yet it runs instead. It's not acting according to its nature. It will never be able to run like a wildebeest. In between, it flies. It runs as if it's flying. And a chicken flies as if it's running.
A chicken cannot fly by nature. It's not in its nature.
No, you're wrong. Chickens should be able to fly by nature because they have wings. They don't fly for one reason, because people have spoiled them. Originally, chickens were partridges. They are migratory birds able to fly. Partridges fly away, but chickens don't fly because they don't need to. Humans feed them anyway. Well, we've had a little debate. Let's consider that we're both right. A chicken is a domestic bird. As a domestic bird, its nature is to interact with humans. This is its development. It has sacrificed its wings for the sake of spiritual improvement. It provides eggs to people, fulfilling its purpose through service. This is how it progresses and develops. It is similar to a person who serves God by sweeping the floor in the temple, though their nature is to lead. Such a person sacrifices their nature for God. That's a different matter altogether, of course. In this sense, a chicken is better than a partridge. All right, let's analyze these 4 categories. The first category is when a small child is born, the parents look at the child, and the child looks back like a sage. This child is a sage. When a person is born, their mind is not yet activated, but their intelligence is already activated. Human life is meant for the development of intelligence. From birth, a child is made of pure intelligence, though this intelligence is not yet active or functional. When you look at a very small child, they look back at you like a sage who knows everything about you. And you think, wow, who has been born to me? People begin to make up all sorts of things. They say, I have given birth to an indigo child. In each time period, people come up with something to call their children, like indigo, or prodigy, or genius, or something else. Well, these children are just small. They haven't started acting yet. That's why you can see their deepest essence. Later, when they start living, all this wisdom will fade. They'll stop being wise and start acting foolishly. That's a different matter. But initially we see what we see. This essence is the most important aspect of a person. A person of the first category, this is their nature. They are only effective when engaged in studying something. They can do many things, but their effectiveness lies in studying something, drawing conclusions, and sharing those conclusions with others. They write computer programs. They belong to the first category. They may also be able to heal people. How do they heal? They provide people with knowledge. They don't just prescribe medicine, they guide people on how to live. They might also be a lawyer. But they don't simply earn money, they aim to teach people. For instance, they could be an attorney, and so on. People of the first category have a natural inclination towards studying. They believe that knowledge has the power to save the world. This is their core belief. They believe that only knowledge can help people and nothing else. They believe that knowledge is the most important thing in life. They believe in knowledge. When well developed, these people naturally cultivate honesty and abstention from money. Such people place knowledge and achievement above wealth or fame. However, underdeveloped individuals of this category are often preoccupied with dissertations, honors, and success. Even then, money tends to rank third in importance for them. If such a person has not matured as an individual, they may place excessive value on their societal status as a scientist, seeing it as their ultimate goal. As a result, they are ready to manipulate facts or do whatever it takes to attain titles like Doctor of Sciences or Academician, and so on. For them, status becomes the primary objective. They live for it. This is a mark of an underdeveloped person. They may even agree to deception in pursuit of status. In contrast, a well-developed person of the first category will never resort to deception for the sake of status. Individuals in the first category sometimes achieve a high societal status, and sometimes they do not. It all depends on how their life unfolds. These individuals never compromise truth for falsehood. This is how highly developed aircraft or rocket designers acted. Sometimes they fell out of favor, but eventually others realized that they were right and reinstated them. Such people never compromised on truth. A developed person of the first category doesn't always hold a prominent status in society. They derive immense joy from learning. They deeply love knowledge. At times they are celebrated, at other times they face disfavor. Their circumstances may change, and people of the first category derive their motivation from this. If well developed, they exhibit profound humility. They are humble by nature. In contrast, underdeveloped ones take great pride in their knowledge. Once someone invited me to his office and proudly recounted how many doctors of sciences, academicians, and scientists he had trained, along with the numerous discoveries made under his leadership. He asked me, "Now do you understand where you've ended up?" I replied, "Yes, now I understand." He expected me to be thrilled at the opportunity to remain there. However, I realized I didn't want to stay there because this person wasn't developed, yet he was in charge of everyone. Why would I need that? During the entire 15-minute conversation, he spoke only about himself. He never even asked me a single question. He simply looked into my eyes and assumed I agreed with everything he said. At the end, he said, "You're a good person, we'll take you." A true scientist should be humble, understanding that everything comes from God, not from their own efforts alone. This is the proper way of thinking. Einstein said at the end of his life, "What I know about this universe is that I know absolutely nothing." These are his words. Lomonosov and Leo Tolstoy adopted exactly the same perspective later in life, These are the traits of truly developed people in the first category. Such people always recognize their insignificance compared to the vastness of this world, while simultaneously possessing immense knowledge and internal personal capabilities. Individuals of the first category are naturally very intuitive. They have a powerful ability to sense truth. Moreover, they are inherently ascetic and capable of living simply and ascetically. These people are not inclined to high activity. Most often they don't like active sports. Chess is their kind of sport. But football is not their kind of sport. Of course, there often can be exceptions. A coach is also a person of the first category. They can be a football coach and teach people how to play football properly. If you're great at playing football, it doesn't mean you can be a coach, because to be a coach, you need to be excellent at teaching football. When I was doing ballroom dancing, we had a ballroom dance coach with a small belly who clearly didn't look like a great dancer. When I asked him, "Did you ever win first place?" "I'm also of the first category. I need to study everything." He looked at me and said, "No." And then one senior student who also did dancing came up to me and said, "It doesn't matter if someone won first place or not. You won't find a better teacher than him in this city. He knows perfectly well how to move, and he can teach you," and that's exactly what happened. This person is a phenomenon in terms of education, but he himself is not a phenomenon in dancing. Well, there are people who are phenomena in dancing, but they can't teach anyone. People of the first category are compassionate towards others. They can't or do not want to commit violence. Therefore, it's better for them not to manage anyone or anything. It's better for them to just share knowledge with people. Sometimes they have management abilities and they manage, but over time, they understand that it's not their occupation because they don't want to punish or enforce order. They don't invest in this because it's not their nature. For example, they like to set goals in their activities to comprehend their deep meaning. Setting goals and achieving them can also be characteristic of a manager, people from the second category, but they're completely different people. Let's imagine a small child with a sage's look, now an adult dressed modestly. That means they don't dress too flashy. They have this kind of natural restraint. They are not very active, they don't stand out much in society, or if they do stand out, they don't really need it. They behave quite modestly. They can be wealthy but aren't strongly attached to it, and so on. They can be poor and still feel fine. If a person of the first category is undeveloped and occupies a very high position, they are constantly showing off, punishing everyone, behaving arrogantly and seeking money. They're constantly dissatisfied with everyone. Well, this means the person isn't developed even though they may have a high position and great achievements. Being developed in one's nature always means inner happiness and fulfillment. This doesn't mean high social status or anything else. It means they can occupy a high position and be happy and satisfied at the same time. Who can it be? Well, what kind of profession in general? Any profession, but particularly priest, teacher, coach, scientist, philosopher, lawyer. It can be a person who creates state laws, for example, and so on. This is a person who deals with science and people and operates in the sphere of knowledge. Now let's move on to the second category. I haven't talked too long about the first category, have I? Is it okay? I've covered the main points. Now let's move on to the second category. A small child is born, then parents discover that they seem to have no knowledge. They're foolish. When a baby of this category is born and parents look at their face, they see a personality who looks at them like this. What's the matter? Who are you? What are you doing? Why is everything wrong here and in disorder? This needs to be sorted out. Raise your hand if you have such a child in your family. Okay. And who had the first category with a calm, sage-like look? That's classic, right? Sometimes they look with such a firm and dissatisfied gaze. Such a small child. I will punish you all. What kind of behavior is it? Such is their nature, and nothing can be done about it. A person was born this way. They will be like this all their life. It's impossible to change them. A person's nature never changes. A scientist can never become a manager. A chicken will never become a cat. They were born the way they were born. This is their nature. Life stages are something different. A person develops, but only within their own nature. Life stages mean these hobbies, for example, abilities. This means that a person doesn't know their nature, they're not developed. There was a cartoon, The Ugly Duckling, where a swan was among geese. At first he looked like geese, but when he grew up he became a swan and flew away from them, because he has to live with swans, not with geese. A person doesn't know themselves at first, doesn't understand. We talked yesterday that a woman is always a woman, and a man is a man. There's nothing even to study here. This is clear, but nature, the four categories are the same for both women and men. A woman can also be born with such a strict look. Cinderella is a leader by nature, she's like that. And Piero is like, Malvina is gone. Not Cinderella, but Malvina, I'm sorry. Malvina is a leader by nature, and Piero is a scientist. Malvina, my bride, is gone. Malvina has run away to foreign lands. Although Malvina was always so businesslike, walking around commanding everyone. When a woman has the nature of a leader, this is normal. Who is a leader by human nature? This is a person who has strong status in their blood. They can't dress poorly, it would make them sick. They can't dress in a way that wouldn't command respect. They can't look in a way that wouldn't command respect. They can't be second, and they can't handle when somebody insults them. For example, if a scientist is insulted, they can swallow it and digest it. But when a natural leader is insulted, they will never digest it. They will always fight and win, because they can't be defeated. Their nature is only to win, and that's it. They are always senior to everyone from the very beginning. A small child, let's say, a natural leader, for example, plays football. Someone likes to spin the ball, someone likes to run and jump, someone says, we're playing wrong. Come on, there should be a forward and defender. And the third one says, you will be the forward. They've already become the boss there in football, and people naturally obey. Children naturally obey the kids who want to be bosses, because they see that if you don't obey, then it'll be war. Then you're not in our team, get out of here. And everyone else doesn't object, they see that this is a strong person. They are like a boss, and therefore they accept this child. God has already made this person a leader, there's no need to try to overthrow them. From early childhood, a leader is a leader. I was wrestling with one child practicing Sambo. I was just showing him my abilities on the street. I was proud and used a painful hold. He started yelling, "Let me go!" I didn't let go because I wanted him to admit that I'm the winner. And one boy approached me, also our age, and looked at him. He had a firm gaze, a very authoritative and calm face. He wasn't against me or for him. He simply told me, "Let him go." I immediately let go. I gained a lot of respect for this boy. This is a leader. They always stand for truth. A scientist by nature has knowledge as a goal. They believe knowledge will save the world, while a leader by nature believes that social order, proper welfare of people, right laws, and proper authority will save the world. They believe that if the authority is wrong, the law is wrong, the order is wrong, then they will fight for what is right. That means that a person is a leader by nature. They will never allow society to live wrongly. They can't accept this. While a scientist believes that helping a person means explaining, a leader by nature becomes a protector. They believe that helping a person means giving them protection and shelter. They can't tolerate when someone is not settled in life. They try to provide shelter, but if a person rebels, they punish them, penalize them. When a person is a leader by nature, they can punish and believe it is right. You see, a person who is in a first category, a scientist by nature, can't punish. When they punish people, they never forgive themselves afterward. But a leader never considers it a problem to punish people if they are wrong. Therefore, they seriously study laws to know when to punish and when not to. They must know exactly when to punish and when not to. A leader by nature has a natural ability to understand a person's status. When they look at a person, they try to assess what status this person has. If a person is a leader by nature, they won't command them. If the person is a higher-ranking leader, they will submit to them. If it's a scientist, they will ask for advice or won't bother them. A leader by nature always looks at people and divides them by status. Moreover, a leader by nature feels whether a person can do this or not. These abilities develop very quickly in them. A person who is a leader by nature understands people very well. They are natural psychologists, and if a person is a scientist by nature, they always see the best in people. A leader by nature always sees the worst in people. They see what a person can't do. Their approach is very sober and cold. They look at a person and see what they won't be able to do. I say, "Oh, we need you so much. Join our team. Work with us." I'm a scientist by nature. I see good qualities. When a person comes to my manager, he says, "Sit down. You've listened to Dr. Torsunov. Now listen to me." And that person comes out saying, "Now I don't know if I want to work there or not." That's how a manager sobers people up, and it's good. We need someone to attract people and someone to sober them up. Otherwise, there won't be effectiveness. A leader by nature is a person who has natural flaws in the form of anger and cruelty. These are their natural shortcomings. They don't control their bravery. Sometimes they can be brave in the wrong way and lose something in life. A leader by nature should try to fight these shortcomings, but still they have strong ambitions and strong desire for power. If a scientist wants knowledge, has a strong desire for knowledge, then a leader has a strong desire for power. This is their natural desire. They shouldn't reject it. If a leader rejects power, it's the same as if a scientist rejects knowledge. A leader should take power and then continue to take care of people. If a leader uses power for profit to get money for themselves, such a leader degrades. They lose power. Because people give power to a leader, they believe in them. Often leaders think that power is given simply by laws. If you're put in charge, you think you can do what you want with people. But in reality, people give power. Laws give temporary power, but people either strengthen or weaken a leader's power. Therefore, a leader always depends on how much people believe in them and love them, and God acts through people's hearts. If leaders are good, people adore them, but if they're bad, they constantly curse them, and leaders degrade because of this. So a leader should never put money above fulfilling their duty, but at the same time should never give up power. Also, a leader definitely needs money. They need more money than other people because there is no power without money. Money is normal for this purpose. But if a person puts money above their obligations to people, then they lose both power and people. A leader must always behave properly in life, like in that film. Nordic character Steadfast has no vicious connections. This means a good leader. But a bad leader ruins their reputation with foolish actions and as a result loses power. They always have a bad reputation. Everyone laughs at them or condemns them. This means they don't understand that it's very important for them to behave properly. They must conduct themselves impeccably in society, otherwise they lose power. And enemies will definitely take advantage of this. I've briefly described the natural qualities of a leader. You should know that there are 4 categories of leaders. This is approximate. These categories have further subdivisions, but everyone should know these 4 categories. The first category is a process manager, not of people, but of processes, a process administrator. They can manage processes, but not people. The second category is personnel manager. Who is that? This is a person who creates work. That means they determine employment, punish people, create schemes for how they should work and everything else. They work with a team. They manage people. And there is a process manager. They usually stand above personnel managers, with some exceptions. They manage processes, meaning there are people who are, let's say, workshop managers. They manage people there, monitor discipline, punish, but there is a person who manages the entire technological process at work. This is already a higher level manager. It's difficult for them to work with people, but they understand well how to keep the business in hand so it doesn't fall apart. There is a person who is an ideologist of development. This person is also a leader by nature, but they know how to develop business, know how to negotiate, make contracts. They see perspective, they can develop business, but at the same time they can't work with people and processes. Rather, these might be their abilities, but their main ability is to develop activities like the man in the first row. This is your nature. Fourth kind of manager is a person who is an ideologist, like Torsunov. That means they inspire people to work like we had during socialism. Political leader and administrative leader everywhere, in all productions. Can you imagine how wisely they did this? Everywhere there were 2 managers. One manager watched over people's ideology, the other over processes. Can you imagine how reasonable that was? Because people are always going here and there, they're always being carried somewhere. Someone has to inspire them to proper activity. Now it might be called something different, but in any large company there should always be a person who speaks at meetings. We need to do this, my dears, and so on. They are leaders, but they inspire people to achieve great things. Like Suvorov. He was of this category, but a very developed person, and he personally inspired people. Sometimes some generals have those who inspire, but Suvorov himself was such a person. He was senior, but he didn't create processes. His main strength was inspiring people, and he did it. His army was very inspired and strong. It stormed. You see, inside a fortress there could be 6 times more soldiers than outside. How could somebody win them? But when Suvorov was taking a fortress in Turkey, he had half as many soldiers as there were in the fortress, and he still won. This happens very rarely. This depends very much on the strength of the leader. Like Alexander the Great, he was an administrator by nature and manager of processes. He had a very strong understanding of the right way to fight a war. He knew how to arrange columns, but since he was a very developed personality, people believed in him very much. He had a very strong grip. He was such a ruler of administrative nature. He was a very powerful person and therefore never lost a battle. Let's take Napoleon. He was an organizer of processes, an organizer by nature, but he was such a strong tactician that never lost a single battle in his life. And even when he was stepping back, he won all the battles that took place, because no one could have a better tactical vision of the battle than him. It was impossible. He foresaw all events 5 moves ahead. Such talented people exist. I'm just telling you how talented people can be. All 4 types of people can become top managers, but their management style will be different. If ideologists manage people like Suvorov, they will simply inspire everyone, but different types of management will be subordinate to them. Their main goal will be to inspire the team, and everything else will be done by other people. If a manager of processes becomes a top manager, then they will build a strong business. And everyone else will obey them. They will see how things work and put things in place. If an ideologist, a personnel manager, becomes a top manager, then they will monitor all their directors closely. They will be teaching them how to be managers, monitoring them, and also they will monitor everyone else. Have I already told you about all 4? Or if a person is an ideologist of processes, then they will strongly develop business in their direction. But at the same time, they must put everything in place, close all the gaps so that everything else works well and develops. Anyone can be a top manager. It all depends on how much a person is developed. I told you about the second category of people. These are police officers, military personnel. For example, a simple soldier who decided he would be a soldier all his life is also in the second category, but he is not developed enough to be a leader. But he fights. His nature is to protect and fight. All people who are connected with state power are also of this second category. They just have different levels of development as personalities. The strength of personality can be different. But if a person is in these structures simply because they earn money there, it means they might not be of this nature. If a person already identifies themselves with this, they like this kind of life, then they are of this category. The third category is children who are born with such a look. When a child is born, they are like this. Are we all going to be friends now? I love everyone, and you all love me. The third category, the category of a businessman. Such a person is always the soul of the team. They are very sociable and invest heavily in people. Their psyche really loves people. They like communicating with people very much. They are very expressive in relationships. Often a leader is not very talkative, but a businessman is always such a chatterbox. For example, when they are 7-year-old children, they are very active. They say, let's collect stamps. Everyone starts collecting stamps, and then it turns out they have the best stamps. Then they trade. Look at this stamp. Do you like it? They know what everyone likes. Somehow they give away a worse stamp and take a better one and end up with the best stamps. Well, how it happened, nobody knows. They understand human nature well. They know what people like and how to make money from it. But at the same time, they make very strong and sincere friendships and earn money, also very sincerely and somehow imperceptibly. Their nature is to make profit while being friendly. They are also generous by nature. This person can easily feed someone, donate something, and engage in charity. Charity is not the nature of leaders, but of businessmen. They should maintain orphanages and everything else. Generosity is their nature. These people are businessmen. They believe that only money and material well-being will save the world. This is their idea. The third category of people now rules the whole world. Because there might be another idea of ruling that only power will save the world, proper power. Or maybe knowledge or God will save everyone, which means the first category runs society. Or maybe, as in the song, we will destroy the world of violence to its foundation, and then we will build a new world. Who was nothing will become everything. That is the fourth category, meaning the fourth category rules people. And so on. There are different social structures. But in general, the third category are people who have a natural flaw like the second category, irascibility and abuse of their position. It's a natural flaw. The first category's flaw is pride in their knowledge. The natural flaw of the third category is greed and hoarding. That means, when these qualities are strongly manifested, it is a definite sign that a person belongs to the third category. It's their nature. The undeveloped person's trait is to hoard, to accumulate until the last drop of blood. But if they are developed, they become the opposite, a patron of the arts, like Sava Mamontov, who created his theater and developed actors and so on. They invest in the country's culture or feed the poor, something like that. This is also the nature of a businessman. By nature, businessmen are very honest people. If I said it will be this way, then I will always do it this way. But undeveloped businessmen always cheat in business and gradually lose their business. A developed businessman values partnerships and never destroys these connections, even at the expense of their own profit. They will maintain the rules of the game. In the past, in that culture before ours, there was such an expression, to grind into powder. To grind into powder meant to strike off the list. Well, they used to write people's names somewhere on the wall with chalk. And if they erased it like this, it meant this person would never participate in their business again. If someone cheated in business, all other merchants ground them into powder also. This meant it was the end for them. No one would trade with them. They would simply degrade as a businessman. Now there is no such rule. Everyone relies on laws, but in reality, laws can never fully protect a person because there are billions of tricks which people use to cheat in business. But in that culture, the rules were such that if you were a dishonest merchant, you wouldn't become wealthy. It's still the same now, because an honest merchant has a natural ability to see who will cheat them and who won't. I knew one bank director, but he was a third category businessman by nature. And he told me how he made deals. He was Georgian by nationality. He said, When someone calls me, I pick up the phone. If it smells bad, I never make a deal with them. I have never been wrong in my life. All those whom I rejected, they cheated others, but not me. That's how it was. God gave him this ability, but he was such a person that he never cheated anyone. But making profit is normal. I'm not talking about that. But when you've agreed on something and then you change these agreements, this is called deception. Such a person cannot be perceptive. They don't see who will deceive them. If a businessman always makes proper agreements, he always sees who might deceive him and never does business with them. In other words, personality traits play a very important role in all these categories of people. A businessman by nature is someone who can build relationships and maintain friendships. They are good friends and maintain good relationships with everyone, easily make connections, maintain relationships. They are hyperactive in relationships. They have many, many connections, and through these connections they develop their business. Proper and developed businessmen grow their business through connections. And they love to meet people and love to maintain relationships. This is their nature. They are generous in relationships. They can take good care of you. You won't even notice how you end up with an empty wallet near them. But they didn't do it on purpose. It just happened that way. They don't ask for money. Real businessmen are always attractive. They attract attention to themselves and their goods through their kindness and generosity. Weak businessmen always torment people, pull money out of them, and deceive them. Naturally, they can't sustain their business for long. They destroy everything around them. They might hold on, but their life will keep getting worse and worse. The more sins a person has in life, the harder it becomes for them to live. The fourth category, a person is born with such a face that they look at everyone and know that they want to do something interesting. The fourth category of people are children who, if you give them a construction set, for example, will play with it all day. They need to be occupied with something interesting. They don't need anything else in life. These people of the fourth category are motivated most by work they love. Favorite work is the best motivation in life for them. This is like Michelangelo, who made sculptures 14 hours a day. Their motivation is love for their work. There are artists who paint spirituality like Rorik. There are artists who paint battlefields, power. That's a second category of artists. All of this can be found in the Hermitage. The third category of artists paint whatever is needed for sale. Their pictures are also beautiful. The fourth category of artists simply love to paint. They can paint anything. They simply like, let's say, to paint the sea, so they paint the sea. This is the fourth category of people. To claim that one category from these four is better and the other worse is utter madness. We must understand that there's no question here of better or worse. Even a person of the fourth category, if they develop themselves, becomes senior to everyone in society. You should know this. People of the fourth category can become seniors. They become masters and teach everyone how to make sculptures. But naturally, in society, those who possess knowledge should be the seniors. But they don't run the society, they stand by, they are consulted. They could be, for example, king's advisors. Then there are people of the second category. These are people who run the society. They are senior in society, but above them are those who provide knowledge. The third category is businessmen and the wealthiest people in society. They can be richer than those who run the society. Above them are those who run the society. The fourth category of people are the most important people, because nothing is possible without them. There's a story by Saltykov-Shchedrin about how a peasant fed two generals. Two generals ended up on a deserted island. They kept looking for a peasant whenever they needed something. They found a peasant, he built them a boat and got them off the island. He basically saved their lives, but they kicked him in the rear and said, "Get out." Disrespect towards the fourth category does happen. People who love work have natural inherent qualities, laziness or industriousness. They have a creative desire for creative work or desire for money. They have the ability to submit or rebel. Accordingly, this is the developed or undeveloped person of this fourth category. The shortcomings are laziness, disobedience, greed, and the desire for big money.
Is it possible to rise from one category to another?
It's impossible. If you want to rise, maybe you don't know your true nature. Let's say a person thinks they should just make boots, but they are a leader by nature. Only when a person has developed greatly as an individual can they understand their nature. Activity according to one's abilities can be anything. It might be your nature or it might not be, nobody knows. Sometimes if a person is motivated by money and works for money, they can't understand their true nature. Although you might be acting according to your nature or maybe not, nobody knows. Until money motivation takes second place and until you start living for God, for people's happiness. Until you want to fulfill some mission in your life, you won't be able to achieve your true nature. It's simply impossible because money will interfere. It doesn't allow intelligence to develop. Money suppresses intelligence.
Can there be a mixed nature?
No. It happens that a person is underdeveloped and therefore their abilities get mixed up with their nature.
Or can it be the opposite, multifunctional?
Okay, if you want, I'll tell you deeper how everything is structured so you'll understand that there can't be a mixture. A person has 3 centers of intelligence, 1 in the forehead, 2nd in the heart, 3rd in the groin. The soul has 3 powers of consciousness. The first power of consciousness means knowledge. It lives here. The second power of consciousness is love, which lives in the heart. The third power of consciousness is the striving for eternity, which lives in the groin. A person of the first category has only the top light burns brightest. This means that knowledge will save the world. In second place for them is love for people. Knowledge will save the world, but love for people requires knowledge. This one is the brightest, this one is in second place, but the desire for self-preservation is dormant in a scientist. For the first category, it doesn't matter whether there's self-preservation or not. Second category people are rulers. They have love burning strongest. They strive for love. Knowledge of laws and everything else is second place for them, and self-preservation is dormant. These people can give their lives for the sake of maintaining order in society. They live for people. A scientist lives for knowledge, but for the sake of people, while a ruler lives for people and uses knowledge for this purpose. For the third category of people, knowledge is not important. Love for people is the most important for them. They want prosperity, and they have self-preservation is in second place. These are businessmen. Self-preservation means wealth. They believe that wealth will save the world. People need wealth. Wealth means self-preservation. A person of the fourth category has the lower center light the brightest. My favorite work is in first place, and love for people is second. They work for the sake of people, while knowledge is dormant in them. Or rather, it's not completely dormant, it just doesn't glow as brightly as these two. There are no other variations besides these 4. It can't be that it glows strong at the top, with the lower one in second place, while the middle doesn't glow. It can't skip over one. It can't skip over one, only in sequence. That's it, 4 categories, there are no others. It can't be that it glows here, then stops and starts to glow there. It takes many lifetimes to develop a certain nature. The power of intelligence in any of these 3 centers takes many lifetimes to develop, not just one moment. For instance, a scientist possesses a bright mind, and a ruler has a bright heart. A businessman also has a bright heart. Someone who does what they love radiates light through their activities. This light emanates from their good deeds. What other questions do you have on this topic?
In one of your lectures, you discussed relationships. For example, if a man is a scientist and a woman is a business person, will it be difficult for them to be together? Their centers seem to skip over one another.
They can be together, but it would be very difficult. Regarding compatibility, if a man is a scientist and a woman is a manager, their compatibility is good. If they belong to the same category, their compatibility is excellent. If a man is a manager and a woman is a scientist, the compatibility is worse. In such cases, she may say, "You just don't get it." A woman cannot entrust herself to someone who understands a little less than she does. When a man is a scientist and a woman is a manager, he understands more, allowing the woman to build a normal relationship with him. However, if he understands less, it's harder for her to stay with him. If she's a scientist by nature and he's a businessman, she might say, "Why are you constantly fooling everyone? Why are you always chattering with everyone and running around? Sit down and study. Think. Stop running around and talking to everyone." If she's a scientist by nature and he's a worker, the situation becomes almost hopeless.
Does this really happen?
Yes, my dear, it does happen. One must still pray to God and strive to preserve the family. However, most people find partners according to their nature. Nature designed it so that people usually align with others of similar status. Business people are usually drawn to other business people. They like each other. A businessman, for instance, likes women who are very fashionable, dressed in bright colors. A businesswoman is like this by nature, fashionable and wearing bright clothes. A manager, on the other hand, likes a woman with status. She should appear strict and respectable, carrying herself like a princess. A scientist likes a woman who is smart and intelligent. She should be strict and intelligent. A worker prefers a partner who is down to earth. Not showy, but simple and down to earth. Do you see how nature influences these preferences? Sometimes fate works differently. All sorts of things happen. Your question, please.
Does a person's potential for spiritual growth and spiritual practices depend on their category?
No. There can be holy kings, holy businessmen, and holy workers. A person's potential depends on their determination and their past actions in previous life. If they engage in spiritual practices in the past, they are likely to practice more strongly in this life, and even more in the next. Personal development doesn't mean jumping from one category to another. To reiterate, a person in the fourth category can be holy and hold a higher status than someone in the first category. What kind of holy person will they be? They will be very simple in their holiness. They might say, I don't intellectualize. I don't have much knowledge, but this is how we should live. And they would be right. They wouldn't explain why, but a person in the first category would explain why. For example, a holy ruler in the second category is extraordinary. If such a person arrives on earth or within a community, they are truly a gift from heaven. Such a person is deeply significant. A scientist in the first category who is holy establishes religious principles and creates structures based on correct understanding. They guide people on how to live properly. They become a miracle for people. A holy person in the third category supports monastic life. They create the possibility for monks to live by collecting donations and organizing resources. A person in any category can be holy. All four categories can produce holy individuals.
Which category do financiers belong to?
Financiers fall under the category of business people. However, if a financier is also a manager, they belong to the manager category. Let me explain. When a businessman creates a team around themselves motivated only by money, it lacks stability. Such teams lack social connections and regulations. They simply make money and then dissolve. If a businessman works under a manager who handles social aspects while he makes money, it works well. But if a businessman creates a team, this team won't be stable because a businessman doesn't think in terms of long-term relationships. A businessman never tells people, "You'll work for me your whole life." Their idea is, make money and move on. It's like forming temporary cooperatives created for short-term profit. A manager, on the other hand, builds teams by establishing rules, taking care of people, building long-term relationships within, and creating connections with authorities. Business people rarely form ties with authorities. They mainly establish connections with other business people. They don't feel the need for authorities. Or rather, they need and respect authorities, but they can't establish close relationships with them, whereas a manager naturally fosters ties with authorities.
Which category do creative people belong to?
Creative people belong to either the fourth or first category. For example, Rorik was a creative person, but his art conveyed knowledge. Some artists depict power and battles, while others simply paint what they like. These represent different types of people.
Please tell us, Dr. Torsunov, how is holiness reflected on the spiritual plane?
Holiness is expressed through a person's faith, the purity of their consciousness and intelligence, their sinlessness, and their aspiration toward God. It is expressed through the renunciation of material desires and rewards, self-control, honesty, kindness, self-sacrifice, and the ability to serve others.
And doesn't this lead to the development of new centers?
There are only 3 centers of intelligence.
But doesn't it develop higher centers when one acquires these qualities?
When one acquires character qualities, everything becomes completely purified, yet the traffic lights remain as they were. This is completely different. It means the traffic light is now beautiful, clean, and polished, which signifies holiness. If it was shining green, it continues to shine green. This does not change.
How can we motivate our intelligence to determine which direction to develop? How do we identify our orientation?
Good question. That's the next topic. Is everything clear about the different variations? Clear, yes? Let's move on. How to develop. A woman develops like this. First comes God. For instance, what's usually the priority for an undeveloped woman? Work. She cannot survive otherwise. Everyone tells her, first get an education, stand on your own feet, then get married so you can leave your husband later if necessary and still live comfortably. And that's exactly what she ends up doing. A more developed woman thinks, first family, then everything else. However, she often still gets abandoned because she becomes too attached to a man who starts to grow arrogant and torments her. An even more developed woman says, first God. She begins thinking about God, focusing on God and personal growth. Afterwards, she prioritizes family. At this stage, God already protects her. A man will not harm her because she has become strong. She is shielded and protected by God. Only then, after becoming strong as a believer and firmly established as a mother and wife, only then does she become firmly established in society and works on her social development. There's an opinion that women shouldn't develop in society. But if not women, then who will love everyone around, create social connections, take care of others? Who will show compassion? Who will point out injustice? Women do all of these things. They are essential to society. However, only developed women are truly needed in society. How does development occur in men? What's the priority for an underdeveloped man? Women. Women come first, or vodka. This is how the family center works for a man. For an underdeveloped man, it's not the family itself that matters, as it is for women, but women. He doesn't need a family. An underdeveloped man seeks relationships with women of loose morals. When he develops slightly, he starts to think, after all, it's not women that are important, but work. Without work, you won't even have women, because nobody will want you. He thinks, I'll establish myself first, and then women will come. First things, airplanes, and women come afterwards. As a man develops further, he starts to think, actually, God is a priority. Without brains or conscience, neither family nor anything else in your life will last, not even work. You need to cultivate intelligence. So a man with the right priorities puts God first, activity second, and family third. No one needs an underdeveloped man. A developed man is productive. A truly developed man is a believer. When a woman asks, how can I make my husband take the right path? It means he hasn't developed to that level yet. If God isn't his first priority, he hasn't reached the point of spiritual maturity. He needs to break through 3 levels upward with his head, but he's only broken through 2. He must break through 1 more to climb higher and understand there's a different life awaiting him. What deviations can women face? When work becomes a priority for a woman, she becomes overly involved in social development, losing her softness and becoming coarse, independent, and expressively harsh in behavior and speech. Her hormonal functions get disrupted. She's constantly tired at work because she has no support. A woman who has no support in her family often has an unstable mental state. She becomes easily tired from any activity because of her instability. Without calmness in life, she's constantly overwhelmed. A woman is grounded only through family. Family relationships stabilize the mind. Without them, her mental state remains unbalanced. If a woman is motivated by work, she may seek personal relationships in the workplace. She believes in work, thinking, I need a job where I'll feel good, and starts looking for love and personal relationships at work. She confuses work with family and gets burned as a result. Because at work, there are business relationships that by nature can be traumatic for a woman. She always gets traumatized because these are business relationships. To avoid being traumatized, her psyche must be protected by her family. If she goes to work and her boss yells at her, she thinks, I have a husband, why should I care? She doesn't care, her husband protects her. If the boss threatens, I'll fire you, she confidently responds, go ahead. Why? Because she knows she doesn't need the job. She is working only because her husband wants her to work, not because she has to. She feels no worry and tells the boss, fire me if you want. He doesn't fire her if he sees that a woman behaves this way. He says, keep working. He sees that he has no leverage to pressure her. But if a woman is afraid, this happens when work becomes her priority. The boss can demand, you'll stay to work longer. Such demands don't easily work on men who immediately get defensive. What's the deal? Why should I? If a woman believes in work, since she's very delicate by nature, she says, all right, Vasily Petrovich, I'll stay, while thinking to herself, I'm so fed up, I can't take it anymore. She gets increasingly exhausted at work because she is exploited there. Why do they exploit her? Because she is too attached to her work. If she instead said, forget this, I'm going home, I have children, no one would exploit her. Everyone would see her confidence as unshakable. If a woman is deeply motivated by work and considers it her primary focus, then everyone will exploit her. There are 3 stages of development for both women and men. The first stage of male development is called a coach potato. At this stage, he's not awakened. People might tell him, don't you understand that this is what you need? You are earning your own money here. He responds, I understand, but in reality, he doesn't understand anything. His focus is on leisure and physical pleasure, like sex and rest. He doesn't need anything else. He enjoys relaxing. He only wants to enjoy life, and that's all. He wants to avoid work altogether. Even money isn't enough to motivate him. He takes pleasure in idleness, even at work. He likes doing nothing at work, and he doesn't like doing anything. The second stage of male development is workaholic. At this stage, he works tirelessly and has no free time. When his wife asks, "When will you come home?" he replies, "I don't know." The third and final stage is when he becomes a man, a real, responsible, serious man. For women, the first stage of development is called dreamer. She spends her time dreaming. She doesn't want to work, she dreams. The second stage of female development is called emancipated woman, or workaholic. She no longer dreams, but instead throws herself into work, striving to become socially empowered and emancipated. The third stage of development for a woman is simply woman. This stage represents her as a mother, wife, and a good person. If a person hasn't matured into a balanced individual, they remain stuck as either a coach potato or a workaholic. In either case, they fail to understand their true nature. One needs to become a real person first. Once they become a person, they need to understand that there is God. Before understanding one's true nature, they must realize there is God. What is self-improvement? There is only one variant of self-improvement. Some practice breathing exercises, others fast, and others believe in eating raw food as the ultimate path to understanding life, claiming only those who eat raw food truly understand life. But if a person doesn't realize they're moving towards God, there is no self-improvement. You can torture yourself however you want. True self-improvement means moving toward God. If you're changing your diet, do it with the intent of satisfying God so that He would be pleased. If you think a certain food is pleasing to God, then eat such food. This is called self-improvement. If you define self-improvement as something else, you risk falling into a trap. You can spend the entire day practicing breathing exercises, cleansing your intestines, moving energies through your body, or eating only raw food until you resemble a rabbit. You might even run through the forest chasing squirrels without pans, if you believe that's what natural living means. If, to you, natural living is the ultimate form of self-improvement, then go ahead, take off your pants and chase squirrels. Ultimately, it all depends on your understanding of self-improvement. True self-improvement means only one thing, striving toward God. Everything else is just playing around. The word yoga translates as connection with God. It is not about exercises or various breathing techniques. These are distortions of its true meaning. All right, let's move on.
It doesn't matter where I work and how much I earn, right?
No, that's incorrect. Any activity that does not connect me with God is a sin. For example, if I work somewhere and give a tithe to the temple, this is not a sin. I live for this tithe. Everything else, breathing, working, supporting my family, maintaining my apartment, and providing food, is simply necessary for living. But why do I live? To give this tithe to God. This is not a sinful life, this is a sacred life. Living this way purifies a person. If a person has no higher purpose in life, they won't develop. If they think money is the highest purpose in life, they will reap the results of this belief. A person begins to realize that money doesn't bring happiness. The more money they accumulate, the more others see them as a wallet rather than as a person with a heart. For a person who has become very wealthy, it becomes hard to find genuine friends because everyone expects money from them. Even when they come to a priest for confession, the priest says, "Oh, you're a wealthy person, come in." At that moment they think, so it's the same thing here. I once met a very serious and influential person. When we started talking, he realized that I didn't care about his money or his power. He was so delighted, he began to build a friendship with me. He had no outlet in life, no one to talk to, because everyone else saw him as nothing more than a wallet. It's a terrible situation, but it's one he chose himself. When you say money is the most important thing in life, you are left with emptiness. The truth is, God is the most important thing in life. Money can be used for God, then you will be happy. Power is also not the most important thing either. The more power a person has, the more dangerous their life becomes. Without God, power brings only enemies. You hold power, but you need to ride in an armored car, surrounded by 50 bodyguards, always on edge. The more power you hold, the harder it becomes to live. Contrast this with someone with no power. They can walk peacefully on the streets without fear. Can you imagine how great that must feel? What wouldn't a powerful person give just to walk peacefully through Kiev? Knowledge can also become destructive. Is the atomic bomb knowledge for God? No, of course not. This is knowledge used for power, and the result is destruction all around. Knowledge without God is a terrifying force that destroys the world. Consider this. Why does an apple need a locust gene? Is that what knowledge has given us? An apple with a locust gene doesn't rot because even microbes refuse to eat it. They don't want to eat it because it's tasteless. It looks beautiful on the outside and sells well. People assume that if it looks beautiful, it must taste good, but they take a bite and something feels off. Over time, they get used to this taste and convince themselves that this is how an apple should taste. In reality, an authentic apple tastes different and sometimes has fruit worms inside. Knowledge without God destroys everything. A conscientious person would never create an apple like that. It's a sin to produce an apple that's tasteless and doesn't even rot. But we've become so accustomed to it that we think it's not a sin. Everything is fine. Before long, we'll be eating plastic apples.
I'm a manager and I have employees. Can managers help their employees develop their intelligence?
Yes, I'll explain. Never get too close to your employees and never stop being a father figure to them. As a manager, you are both a father figure and a shaper of their fate. If you become friends with them, even with the intention of developing their intelligence, they will sit on your neck. You won't even notice it happening. When a person in power befriends someone with less power, there's always the temptation for the latter, and for all their friends, to exploit that friendship for influence. Chaos will follow. The only proper way to share knowledge with subordinates is to approach them as a father figure. For instance, if one of them makes a mistake, you need to sit that person down and say, "Listen, here's the issue." Or if one of them fell ill, you might step in and say, "I'll help you with the treatment." Don't tell anyone, and you quietly covered the cost of the treatment. He might ask, "Why shouldn't I tell anyone?" You should respond, "I simply care about people. I did this for you, and that's all." Then he might say, "I want to be like you." You can respond, "Then listen to these lectures, or share your wisdom, but before sharing any knowledge, you must prove yourself as a person worth emulating. Otherwise, he sees everything backwards. You're making money, and you have power. When you teach about life, he only listens to you out of fear of losing his job. If you truly want to reach his heart, do something unexpected and generous. If the person is noble and intelligent, they will appreciate your gesture. If not, then perhaps it's not worth the effort."
How can I involve my relatives?
Involvement often feels like coercion. Tell me, which one of you have I involved in anything?
To attract, to invite.
Have I invited or attracted anyone? Now listen to me carefully. First, you need to accept your fate. You must first accept your relatives. Once you've done that, you need to demonstrate through your own life that you're walking the right path. Then he will come to you and ask how to live. Always hold him back. Say, "I can only tell you this much." Don't rush with excitement, shouting, "Hurrah!" No, do the opposite. If we try to attract someone, they become distracted. It backfires. The more we try to pull someone, the more they push away. If we can't accept people as they are, they will never accept us and our knowledge. First, we must accept them as part of our fate. Then we must behave around them in a way that earns their respect. Only then will they start asking questions themselves. And when they ask, only share as much as they want to know.
What about work?
Not in knowledge, but in work, involving relatives in work. That's very dangerous. You have family relationships. If they become business relationships, you risk destroying either the family relationships or the business ones. You shouldn't lend money to relatives because it destroys family relationships. If you want to help, give what you can as a gift, but never lend, because it changes the nature of your relationship. You can hire parents for unimportant positions. You did this to give them happiness, to make them happy. But know that by doing so, you've given yourself a headache at that moment. You won't be able to manage them properly. You can only ask them, "Daddy, please do this." And he'll say, "Daughter, I can't today."
What about hiring your children?
You can, as subordinates. When they grow into managers, you must transfer them to another job elsewhere. Otherwise, you'll have problems. You will start interfering and won't let them work properly.
Please share your thoughts on striving for God. You mentioned that our views, inner search, and our actions are most important. Do our lifestyle, habits, discipline, organization, cleanliness, and order also matter?
Thank you for asking. Let me share something with you now. To draw water from a well, you don't need electricity. In ancient times, people would hang a carrot on a stick in front of a donkey's face. If you tried it with a goat, it wouldn't work. It has to be a donkey. The donkey is very stubborn and doesn't understand it should act differently. It will follow the carrot, turning the wheel all day. The carrot should almost be reaching his mouth, and he keeps lunging for the carrot that is out of reach while constantly turning. This is exactly how most people in the modern world think. They all think, I'll work a little more and I'll have more money. If I study a little more, I'll gain a higher status in society. If I work harder, I'll have more opportunities. It's the thinking of a donkey chasing a carrot. It never ends and never develops a person. Once in India, I met a woman who spent her entire life carrying bricks on her head. I asked her, why do you carry bricks on your head? She replied, that's what my parents did. I'm illiterate. Nobody will hire me for any other job. I asked, then why not study? She said, studying costs money and I don't have any. I told her, go to the temple. In the temple you will serve God and they will teach you for free. That's exactly how it happens in India. She said, I will work as I worked before, and moved on. You see what I'm talking about? You may think, Dr. Torsunov, you have a lot of free time, so you can do what you want, but I have to work. Do you understand what I mean? It's about the carrot. A carrot makes the wheel turn and the water flows out. Please understand one thing. Personal development always changes a person's status in society. These changes happen gradually, almost imperceptibly. If you observe over 5 or 10 years, you'll notice a tremendous difference between those people who dedicate time to self-improvement. They significantly elevate their status in society, and those who don't. People who neglect self-development tend to remain where they are. The only way to move to a different level in life and access more opportunities is by raising your status. That happens only through personal development. It means you are no longer chasing the carrot like a donkey, but working with a clear purpose like a normal person. Consciousness becomes enlightened, and the donkey says, I won't run after the carrot. I have 2 choices, chase the carrot all day and get it at the end, or just get it anyway because they need to feed me anyway. You know, there are people who practice abstinence. They know the law. They rely on the following principle. If I sit on the road and pray to God, my hunger will eventually make others feel guilty enough to give me money, so I won't starve. They know this and simply pray to God. People give them money, and it's enough for them to live on. However, I don't entirely agree with this mindset. I agree with you. It's better to work after all. Still, some people understand that you can survive even without work if you do the right things. If a person prays, they inspire others and people will donate to them. That's a fact. Please understand that our thinking is extremely limited. Indeed, those who dedicate significant time to self-improvement progress and achieve results much faster than those who spend excessive time working. But choosing not to work is also poor thinking. It's not a sign of enlightenment or holiness. I know many individuals who became priests because they didn't want to work. It's just another form of laziness. These people remained idle couch potatoes their entire lives. They're lazy even in the temple. They don't want to do anything. They only pretend to pray. They sink deeper into this sin. Eventually they leave the monastery, get married, and start life anew, but only after having lost 20 years. It's a life filled with bitter tears. I've seen such people. Never abandon your duty. If you need to work, work, but always remember what's truly important for you. The most important work of any person is their journey toward God. The brighter a spark shines, the more it illuminates. We are all small sparks, and God is the big sun. Let your spark shine brighter, and you will grow stronger. There's a song that characterizes human intelligence and emotions. Our emotions are like horses. They constantly pull us along. They urge us to work, work more, work harder, remaining that we need money, money, money. A person must choose. Will they water the horses and follow them, galloping wherever these horses lead, or will they tame the horses and guide them instead? Our feelings are like horses. They always push toward more money, more work, and more desires. They always pull us somewhere, and we must tame them. There is a song about this which suggests that we should tame the horses and make them slow down a bit, but sometimes we get disobedient horses who don't want to listen to the rider. In this case, all that is left is to give water to the horses and stay on the edge. So what do you choose? To stay on the edge and feed your horses, or to strive for knowledge and tame them? The song suggested that I should stand on the edge for a little more, but maybe it's time to stop standing on the edge and move forward. Standing on the edge means being close to the abyss. Human emotions can push us into that abyss. It's dangerous to let them lead us. Leaders should understand society. You are society's leaders, and you must be aware of this. Even the greatest leaders or scientists can fall. Anyone can fall. Without conscience, if one has distance from God, anyone can fall into degradation, no matter how intelligent they are. We've seen examples of this. Talented leaders have become so corrupt that they have completely ruined their lives. Look at what's happening in Ukraine. It's a vivid example of how this unfolds. And not just their own lives, they end up destroying the lives of many other people along the way. Now let's talk about intellectual, social, and spiritual development. How are they connected to choosing one's purpose? Intellectual development enables a person to better utilize their innate abilities and recognize what they should aim to achieve. What exactly is intellectual development? For instance, I go to university and study. What does this give me? It helps me use my potential more effectively. I have inner resources. Through university education, I uncover the resources within myself. I become a specialist and gain a deeper understanding of how to act in alignment with my nature. The next type of education is difficult to achieve. It is hard to grasp what it is and why it's needed. It's called social development. Social development provides stability in human growth and success. Often people know what to do but lack stability. They say, Dr. Torsunov, I work tirelessly, everything seems fine, but my life is constantly up and down, up and down. I ask, what are the downs? They reply, I get fined, problems keep arising, this issue, that issue. Maybe I am living in the wrong country. It's not about living in the wrong country. The real issue is a lack of social development. Let me explain to you what it means. Social development involves what looks like investing money into nothing. For example, someone starts feeding children in an orphanage. The key condition, they do it without telling anyone, without advertising their actions. Their sole focus is feeding the children in the orphanage. They give money, ensure it isn't wasted, and maybe even oversee how the food is prepared. Their goal is to feed children in the orphanage. Or they may take care of the elderly. They do this and know that God will definitely notice their efforts. If God notices, then eventually so will others. For example, someone may visit the orphanage and ask, where did you get the money? An inspector arrives and inquires, why do these children look healthier? The children respond, we have someone who takes care of us. The inspector asks, who is it? They point to the person and the inspector informs the district administrator. The administrator calls the person and asks, why do you take care of them? The person replies, it's my hobby. I love children or the elderly, and I take care of them. The administrator then says, many people here claim to care but only do so for profit. You seem honest. Can you take responsibility for all similar organizations in our area? He says, I can, but I won't have enough money. The administrator replies, that's not a problem. We will help you with money. Then an inspection comes to him and says, pay the fine or give us a bribe. Choose what you like better. We won't let you go alive anyway. He calls this administrator and says, I have such a situation. I would engage in charity, but it seems that fines will take all my money now. Please forgive me. I don't have time now because of the inspection. That person calls the inspector and says, leave him alone. He's a valuable person. Go inspect someone else. This is called social protection. After that, no one will bother him, not because he gives bribes, but because he is a good person. I'm telling you for sure that this is how it works. I know lots of examples. No one will touch a good person. Everyone knows this person is valuable. Can't touch him. Why? Because feeding children gives a very strong reputation. If he has a strong faith, they tell him, you should become a parliamentarian. You are such a good person. Everyone in our area loves you. Become a deputy, and he becomes a deputy. This is called social development. A person becomes very strong. Everyone respects him because he loves to do good deeds. This is his qualification. You might say, it could be different. You helped children in an orphanage all your life and no one noticed you. Okay, let me compare it this way. You saw a woman who loves everyone, takes care of everyone, and is not married. Does this happen?
It happens.
Well, where? Show me where this happens. Raise your hand, where is such a woman?
I said it, but not about myself.
About whom then? Does she take care of everyone? Does she want to get married?
Yes, she helps.
Yes, you're right. This woman, according to her faith, shouldn't be married. She has very heavy family karma, but she will get married soon. Because she has overcome her fate, and you are witnesses to this now. You are telling this to God. She's not married. Dr. Torsunov is wrong. The Lord will get her married now. You'll see. If a beautiful rose lies in the middle of the street, will it stay there? Someone will definitely pick it up because it's fragrant, but if a smelly, thorny weed lies there, it will definitely be trampled. Become beautiful roses, then you will definitely be picked up. This is the law. If in some place a beautiful rose wasn't picked up, it means uncultured people live there. Go lie down in another place. Keep in mind, first you need to become a beautiful rose, then conduct the experiment. And then leave if you're already beautiful. Most likely, if you're a beautiful rose, you'll have a super life here, 100%. Ukrainians are very sensitive to beauty. They easily see everything that's best. You don't need to show it too much. What other questions?
Tell us, what is the right way to make decisions, and how does a leader know that he or she is ready to make a decision?
Okay, I understand you. The question is off topic. Let me answer your question a bit later. So, is intellectual development necessary? Yes, a leader needs it. Is social development necessary? This is the next stage of development. If you don't develop socially, you will face difficulties in life. Social development gives a person protection. This is luck in their life. A person becomes lucky. Roses are valued more than thorns, 100%. Spiritual development leads to a clear understanding of one's purpose and raises the bar of opportunities. Intellectual development cannot raise it. Some people think, I'll study and I'll have great opportunities. This is nonsense. You'll study and you'll have the same opportunities you have, just more revealed. If you want more opportunities, you must develop spiritually. If you want to avoid being tormented while doing business, you need social activity. You need to become socially strong, then no one will torment you. If they do, you'll make a couple of calls and they'll stop tormenting you. A socially developed person has many serious relationships. This is what social development is. It gives relationships and protection to a person. Next topic, and then your question, okay? You'll be first. So here's the next topic. First, a person should focus on health and character development. We're talking about personal development now, how to develop as a personality. First, charge your batteries. You need to focus on health, movement, healing practice, fasting, and so on. Do you want to develop? Do this first. If your batteries aren't charged, you're a weak person. You won't have strength for anything, not for work, not for development, not for willpower, not for God, for nothing. First, do running, static exercises, and fasting. This is the most powerful classic approach to developing human health and character. First, a person must develop their character and health. How to develop character? Simply do good deeds for people. Become a good person. Help a friend get a job. There's a song about it. Took wife to the theater on Saturday evening. Fed homeless dogs near the house. Helped a passerby find the Moscow River. Become a good person. This is called character development. Some say, to talk less, I will be silent and walk around sulking. To talk less, one should talk about God. You don't need to talk less. You should talk about necessary things and your speech will clear up. If you want to stop lying, speak more truth. You will still lie because it comes from fear, but if you tell people more truth, you will lie less. If you want to stop being greedy, start doing something for others and greediness will go away by itself. If you fight against greediness, it gets stronger. If you fight against talkativeness, it will defeat you. If you fight against alcohol, it will defeat you. If you start doing something interesting for yourself, you won't need alcohol anymore. Get passionate about something. Alcohol is a person's passion. Keep yourself busy with something else and you will forget about alcohol forever. Character development means thinking less about yourself. Some people constantly develop their character by thinking, I'm so fallen, I'm so miserable, I'm so greedy. You're not greedy, just go do something good. All unnecessary things will disappear. Next stage. When a person has become more or less healthy, they still need to get on their feet. Some people say, I'm developing my nature. I have no time to care about my wife and my children or to work. I'm busy developing my nature. No, first get on your feet. Learn to survive, learn to work. After all, for a man, the development of his intelligence means work. Some men come to me and say, how can I understand my nature? I don't know where to work. I say, work where people need you. He says, but there's no money there. I say, this will be your development. What kind of development? I say, when a man works, he develops his intelligence and purifies it. When he doesn't work, he degrades. A woman says, do I have to work as well then? I say, a woman should serve people and take care of everyone. Then she develops her intelligence. She can work or not work, but she must always serve people. Then she develops her intelligence. So develop your abilities first. Make sure you have enough money for living. Don't think that it's not important. If you need to earn money, earn it. But you should know that if you only earn money, things will get worse for you. It means you're chasing the carrot. Let's talk about the next stage of development. A person must understand the purpose of their life and activity. What should I do to please God? This is the next stage of development. Once you feel that you're somehow surviving, have money, now focus on this. What does God want from me? What should I do for people? What is my mission? Once you have found your mission, focus on the social interests of the community. Develop people, develop society, develop your country. Stop thinking too much about your own activity. You should develop society, and your activity will develop. The next stage. If you have already become strong in social activities, develop yourself spiritually. Start learning to pray. Start studying your faith, and then you will develop even more. If you have highly developed, then focus on inner spiritual life. Let me give you an example. This is not an example for everyone to follow. I'm just telling you how it can be. I have a friend in India. He is a leader by nature, which means he belongs to the second category. He has 2 brothers, and he is the eldest. In his self-improvement, he has reached this 5th stage. Although he is a leader, he spends the whole day only in prayer. Now look what happens. His 2 younger brothers manage the companies. They have several factories and some other businesses. They have a luxurious mansion, huge territory like paradise with palm trees, servants, and so on. He wanted to get to know me just because he found it interesting to talk and to communicate with me. I learned more from him than he did from me. Why? Because I learned that such people really exist. At first I thought it was just a fairy tale, but it wasn't. During our conversation, my first question was, why do your brothers need you if you don't work? He started smiling and said, my brothers are very intelligent people. They know why they need me. Could you please explain? He said, it's very simple. If any problems start at the factories or with authorities or in any other way, they come to me for advice. I start praying. I keep praying for some time. The first thing that happens, the problems get solved. And the second thing, I give them knowledge on how to make sure these problems never occur again, and I have never been wrong. If he says something, they do exactly as he said. They completely trust him, and everything always prospers for them. Why? Because this person breaks through all paths through prayer. Because there are pre-actions and there are actions, he performs pre-actions. If people have prayed well, they will fight stronger than the opponent because they have already defeated fate on the subtle energy level, while others haven't yet. So that is what this person does. He doesn't work seemingly, but he is the most important person among the 3 brothers. They say, without him we wouldn't survive. It's simply impossible. If things get really difficult, he negotiates with everyone himself. When he comes, no one can do anything anymore. He is a very strong and intelligent person. You see, sometimes a person doesn't even need to work to be wealthy because they have developed as a person. That's the goal. This person lives constantly in prayer. I had such a situation. It was long ago. I was living in one holy place. My goal was to see if I could maintain living in a holy place. I came to the holy place just to heal people. And if they would donate, they donate. If not, then not. I used to earn money in Russia, then go to the holy place to live there. I lived in the holy place for 7 months and earned money in Russia for 4 months. When I tested my fate for the second time, we spent all our money. We had no money left, and I was very determined. I told my friends who were helping me that God will give us money. They said, we've never seen in life that God would just give money. Nobody gives us anything. We heal. People don't donate. This is a holy place. There are pilgrims there. They mostly don't have much money. We treat using herbs. Herbs, rent, food, everything costs a lot of money. We are tourists in a holy place. Once I received a letter with money in the envelope. Somebody wrote there, please help. Well, I helped. The money was enough to live for a week. Then I say, everything will be fine. God will help. And my assistants ask, will another letter come? I say, I don't know. That day a letter comes. It came with a bit less money than last time. Again, it was enough to live for a while. We helped the person. My assistants asked, are we going to live like this all our life? We won't be able to go anywhere. We have no money. And here too we have nothing to live on. I was confident that God will help. I had no doubts, of course, I wouldn't go live like that now. Well, back then, for some reason, I was young and strongly confident that God would help. One day, this person, whom I just told you about, came to me for health consultation, and we had the same spiritual teacher with this person. He was very intelligent. He looked at everything we had, looked at my assistants, and asked, "Do you have money to live on?" I told him, "Yes, we do." He says, "I'm not asking you, but them," but they just walked away without answering. He says, "I'll stay for lunch with you." For lunch, naturally, we couldn't offer him much. He is very intelligent. He didn't say anything. Then he learned everything about me, and after that he brought a stack of $100 bills. He said, "This is to cover your stay here as long as you want, and for your future travels, for all your expenses." This amount was exactly enough. That's the kind of person he is. He is an amazing person. I haven't met anyone else like him in life who could see everything, understand everything, and be so generous. Well, these are basically the main things that I wanted to tell you in general briefly. Our topic was human purpose and development. I have generally described it to you, showed examples. Your questions now. Microphone?
I can be heard well without the microphone. I wanted to ask you. I want to compare the knowledge that you give and what I know from Chinese culture. In Chinese, there is a character that means both awareness and duty. They use the same character. And I understand that basically for everyone, but especially for a leader, it's necessary to be aware. There's such a concept as here and now. How can a leader understand if they are in this state and ready to make important decisions and aren't being manipulated? How to understand that they are in a state of awareness to take some steps?
Super, thank you. For example, you have a subordinate and there's a meeting going on. If you react to the words of some subordinate because they hurt, because it's a painful truth, it means you can't make a decision. You should listen to everyone and then just accept everything they say. You should understand that only when a person has accepted all points of view and calmly internalized them, when their heart has become calm, only then can they make a decision. In this case, the decision will be right, because truly making a decision means that a person has accepted everything that fate has given them. Truly, that leader who is not thrown off balance by any words that subordinates say can make decisions right now. But first they listen to everyone. They never interfere with what they say and instead develop their theme. So when a person says something, they try to understand this topic deeper. Then the next person speaks, then the next one, then they state the final result. Why? Because they are not involved in anything. All these people compete with each other, they argue with each other, they try to prove that they are more right, while the leader just sits and listens. But they don't get involved in any point of view. And if they do get involved, they know there's no truth in their heart. Only when they are calm and have weighed and understood everything, all points of view settle in their heart. They understood why this point of view exists, why that one exists. When everything becomes peaceful inside, then they will make the right decision. You should also know that sometimes there's a slab of fate before making the right decision. The slab of fate is such a thing that doesn't let you be confident that this is right. Then you should just sit down, listen to those who pray, start praying with them, and don't move. And the slab of fate moves away, and at some point, suddenly knowledge comes to you. A leader must also learn to overcome fate through prayers, not just through their patience. To develop such patience, a leader must learn to not talk for some time, practice silence. They must learn fasting to endure hunger. They must learn the stationary position of the body. They must learn to endure the cold. But if a woman is a leader, she doesn't necessarily need to deal with the cold. She can fast, for instance. These external asceticism practices like cold and ice are not for women, but fasting can be done by women too. A leader absolutely needs strength of spirit. They must be stronger than their subordinates. If a subordinate throws them off balance, it means the leader must work on themselves, not on the subordinate. When they have become calm and accept their subordinates' behavior, then they can punish them. They have the right. But if they are angry at the subordinate and want to punish them out of their anger, it means they are destroying their own life. Did you hear me? Is everything okay? Is everything clear, or does something still remain unclear? Your question, young lady, yes. I mean you, young lady. This woman, you who's giving back the microphone, yes.
I have a question about partnership. Could you draw a parallel with personal relationships? A partner is given to us by fate, and how do we properly part ways with them? Do I have the right to end our business relationship if it's difficult for me with them?
There are three categories of partners. The first category, people take partners because they lack money for business development. This category of partners is always destructive and always leads to sad consequences. It's just a matter of time. Why? Because money cannot unite people, it only divides them. When these people are in need, they stay together and develop. But as soon as they get profit, they immediately destroy the relationship because at this moment each of them chooses their own benefit, not the common good. If people become partners because they have common interests, common business, common desires, and the same type of business, if they become partners because they have the same direction in their activities, this is a higher level of partnership. It often lasts for a long time. But a destructive factor in such a situation can be a strong success. They start arguing a lot about development and may part ways. Although this partnership is more serious, an even more serious partnership is when people have common goals in life. For example, they want to build a temple together, and they have approximately the same area of activity. They unite with the purpose of doing good deeds. I don't know what can destroy such people, especially if they have the same mentor. It's simply impossible to destroy them, because even if they argue, their mentor will reconcile them. Most often people create partnerships simply based on the desire to have more money. This quickly falls apart at the slightest small success, just a tiny bit of success and everything will collapse. Well, this can be done too. Just know that it won't last long. If we talk about associates, who are associates? They are partners of a high category. These are very spiritually developed people. Only they can be true associates. And then it doesn't matter if they unite through money or something else. If they are spiritually developed, they have the highest goal in life. They never betray each other, because they consider it beneath their dignity and their purpose in life. For them, betrayal is more destructive than losing their business. I'm talking about very high matters right now. Those who have already destroyed their business partnership because they had wrong motives know what I'm talking about. Everyone else thinks these are just fantasies.
It's just hard to betray someone if there's already a relationship.
Now I see what you're talking about. That's a different topic. If a man and a woman run business together and decide to get married.
The opposite.
A man and woman were married and decided to run a business together, right? This is also not very good. You see, it's better when a man runs his business and a woman runs hers.
Sorry for interrupting. The question is about how to divide properly. Do I owe this person? How to part ways, right?
I don't know.
Thank you.
Divide as you can. Your situation is complicated, so I don't know how you should divide. Divide as your heart tells you. If your wife comes home and you start discussing business at home, you're both business managers, then you'll definitely need a mistress. Because you no longer have a wife, you have a business partner. But a wife should give love to her husband. And a man cannot live without love, so he will miss love. Eventually he will find a mistress. And since I've been sitting here for a long time, I've been sitting on this chair for a long time, I've seen many such cases. I can tell you one example. A husband and a wife were doing business together. The man found a mistress and then married her, but he continued to do business with his ex-wife. She came to me and said, I don't know what to do. I want to get married, but he won't let me because he works with me. I'm stuck in this situation. I said, well, you need to choose marriage over work after all. Otherwise, you'll remain unhappy and lonely. Sometimes it happens that husband and wife work together and it's fine. They live well. But then they set boundaries. When we come home, we forget about work. We're husband and wife now. They change roles in a big way. That's how it is. This also happens. This is a very serious and strong culture. For example, in India, there are family business clans. They have very strongly assigned roles. In the office, they are partners, but when they come home, there is a father, there is a son. The father behaves as a father, the son as a son. I've seen all this. They have very firmly distributed roles in life. A father is a father, a son is a son, and they never overstep each other. Well, it happens that a son becomes the head of the company. For example, the father reports to son, but he manages his father very carefully. He does it very delicately. In general, my dears, this is the highest level of mastery. Better not to get involved with it. Well, next, the woman who wanted to speak.
Hello. A woman has a family. How to understand what a woman's purpose is. Is it all about raising children? If I used to be in a management position before.
There's no division. A woman leader must lead.
By the time I finish raising all the kids, there will be no place to manage. Or should I manage the children?
No, leader means that she is the one who leads in society, not that she is the one who manages her children. Every woman guides her children and gives knowledge to her husband. This doesn't mean she's a leader. If a woman is a leader, she leads in society. But there's an interesting point that if a man is a strong leader, then most likely his wife is also a leader by nature. In this case, he's subordinate to her. She commands him and he commands everyone else. But she must be very strong inside to manage a leader. She has to be very strong. Women love to lead the leader. And men love to lead people. That's how this world works.
What is a woman's purpose? To raise children or to lead the world?
Don't contrast these things. It's like saying a man's purpose is to serve God but not to lead people. These are different purposes. One purpose for a woman is to raise children, and another is to lead people. Raising children is higher than leading people, but leading people is also a woman's purpose. It's not that she should only lead her children, she can lead in society. It's just that female leadership differs from male leadership. This is a whole topic for discussion. For example, a woman doesn't punish anyone herself. If a woman is a good leader, she says, "Mr. Smith, we told you not to drink, but you continue to drink at work. My assistants have decided to fire you." She behaves as is a mother. A woman doesn't have to work hard to manage a team. She just has to become strong as a woman, and that's it. But a man always has to work hard. A woman has such a character that if she develops as a woman, she doesn't strain herself at all in leadership or in business. If a woman is developed as a person, she comes and makes deals with anyone because everyone loves her. For such a person, no problem. Because she is developed, she wins everyone over with love. The same goes for a woman as a mother leader. She wins everyone over with love. Therefore, a woman should first develop a lot as a person and then go into society. That's what I'm talking about. It will be easy for her to reach any heights afterward. But if a woman isn't developed as a person, she will suffer very much in her activities. That's why to become a strong person, a woman should first of all focus on her husband, children, and God. Then she'll easily manage whatever she wants. She'll easily do business because she is strong. A woman must have an impeccable character to easily reach any horizons. Such a woman conquers everything without war. And fighting is not an option for a woman at all. When a woman takes everything by fighting, she gets tired, becomes unhappy and sick. She should win everyone over with her love.
How not to get attached to results.
You cannot help but get attached to results because you are a businessman by nature. You will have to get attached to results because it's your nature. Just as a ruler's nature is power, they cannot help but be attached to power. Now, a person of the second category will say, "Dr. Torsunov, a person shouldn't be attached to power. They shouldn't think so much about having a good position, but I can't live without it." I'll say, that's right, because you're a leader and you should have a good position. Otherwise, what will you lead? Similarly, businessmen must have good sales. Why? Because they'll have nothing to do if they don't do this, just like bees must be attached to honey. Otherwise, it's not a bee. You understand? Don't confuse one thing with another. If you start stealing, then you're destroying your life. Your question, sir?
The order of a man's development. God, work, family. What's the right way to bring this idea to my wife?
There is no way. This is life's contradiction. As one priest told his disciples, who included both women and men, each woman among you should get married, and each man should try to live a life of abstention. They asked, "Won't this create an imbalance?" He said, "Don't worry, there will always be balance. Very few of you will live a life of abstention. Mostly you'll all get married. But if you strive for abstention, you'll be the best husband. And if a woman strives to get married, she will be the best woman." That's how he taught his disciples. This is the contradiction. A woman will never believe that work is more important than family because she has a different nature, and there's no point in trying to prove this to her.
So better not to try, right?
Yes, better not to. Women, raise your hand if you agree that your husband's work is more important than your family. Are there such women? See, only one. And I would still have a talk with her. She's a very strong person. She is ready for this. She knows family is more important, but she's ready to sacrifice this. Yes. She says family is more important, but I'm ready to sacrifice. This is a very developed woman, just one out of everyone. Do you understand? Don't bother your wife about this.
Dr. Torsunov, you said that prayer is important for connection with God. Following your recommendation, I read the Jesus prayer, the short prayer. Should we also pray in difficult life situations? Are there any other recommendations for prayer?
Asceticism practice. You can fast.
Is it okay to ask for material benefits in prayer for oneself?
Think about God and don't ask for anything. The desire is inside. God knows about it. Rejecting it would be madness. You should live a strong life. If something isn't the way you want, it worries you. God will help you so you are not worried anymore. You'll move faster towards God. Don't reject your desires, but don't be led by them. Think about God during prayer. God will satisfy your desire. Watch this. Observe how it happens to believe in Him more. That's why we should not pay attention to desire, to see that everything is overcome, everything is good. If you start imposing your desire on God, it will only get worse, because He's already dealing with it. You know, there's such a possibility that sometimes God will never fulfill my desire at all. It happens rarely, but sometimes. Why? Because it's extremely dangerous for me. If I insist, He says, well, okay, if you want it so badly, then take it. And then I pray for it to leave me. And it takes just as long. This is very dangerous. Therefore, be careful. Pray thinking only about God. God will give everything that you need, and everything that you don't need, He'll take away. This is His choice, not ours. Sir, your question.
Thank you very much. When you come to understand that you want to do useful things, do something beneficial, and most importantly, legal for people, but there is past material experience, how to control it.
Remember, legitimacy belongs to God. Therefore, how lawfully you act depends on God's will, not on the country's laws. Sometimes the laws of the country contradict God's will. Therefore, always keep an eye on this. Sometimes it seems illegal, but in reality it is more legitimate. I'm just focusing on this word now so that you can synchronize your inner experience with this topic, so that you can understand what is truly legitimate and what is not, because sometimes we get confused about these matters, you understand? I won't go into details because gossip will immediately spread on the internet. I'm just saying figure out this topic for yourself, but regarding getting rid of past experience, if this experience is effective and right, you need to clearly understand whether God likes it or not. And then you'll figure it out.
I'm talking more about material attachment. That there's a very strong material attachment to money, due to circumstances. How to move away from it.
You don't need to move away from it. You need to understand that money is a huge value, and a person who understands that it's valuable is intelligent and developed. You need to understand that it's valuable, enormously valuable. If you're attached to something valuable, it's a sign of intelligence. But you also need to understand that you should be attached in the right way. Now, you should know that money can have different powers. For example, some money brings great happiness to a person, while other money brings great suffering. If you realize this, then you'll understand this topic. Because truly, money is simply an instrument of fate. But they all have the same writing on them. Let's say this is $10,000 and that's $10,000. The question is, where is this power directed? But people think that everywhere. If it's $10,000, then you can direct it wherever you want. The main thing is that they exist. You understand? But if a person understands this pattern, then they won't just get attached to money mindlessly. If money is directed right, it will bring them happiness, and they will easily give it for necessary things. And if the money did not come from the right source, it would enslave them and bring them only misery. Therefore, you need to figure out where the money came from and be very careful with it, and then everything will settle in your heart. But denying the value of money is madness. My dears, I received this note 15 minutes ago. No, my dears, after the lecture, yes, we will continue talking with you. I think we should wish happiness to everyone, right?
Yes.
Let's do it then, okay? I hope this lecture was useful for you.
Thank you very much.
I told you everything I know. There are many, many details. We can meet again to discuss the details. Since I meet with you rarely, I mainly cover more global topics. I do it more broadly, as an overview. Everyone sit up straight. Listen intently to those who pray.
Who are we going to pray for?
Your goal now is to listen intently to those who pray and repeat as they do, I wish happiness to everyone. Don't set any other goals for yourself right now because you don't know 100% how intently you have to listen. If your listening is very intense, then first you will rely on this sound. Then you will feel it entering your heart and the heart will open. And when the heart opens at that moment, start worshiping with your own sounds. Say, I wish happiness to everyone from your heart and give it to people or to your altar. And when it enters through your ear and exits through your heart to the altar, only then can a person say, this is all for this purpose. Only after that. But before that, you need to first come to this process. Learn to listen intently and repeat as they do. This is the very first thing you should do. I wish happiness to everyone. I wish happiness to everyone. I wish happiness to everyone. To learn more on the subject of health and healing of the body, please make sure to read my health guide, available for download on my YouTube channel or on my Instagram page. Thank you very much, and see you soon.